Goldclad, welcome to the stream. Is it just me or you look like Andrew Tate, like shirtless videos,
Oh,
Um, so is it
the
just me or
thing
have you
is,
gotten that from somebody else?
uh, I would suggest not just you, but anyone who terms me as Andrew Tate to not do it, because by doing it, you are inadvertently painting a target on my back. Andrew Tate right now is the Indian Voldemort. Thou shalt not name him. You know why? Because he's the big boogeyman. Don't you know this? His name is being used as an insult. These days, Indian Andrew Tate and God knows what. So whatever people's perception about him is, right now in India, using his name and calling someone that he's like Andrew Tate is putting him in danger, in front of the cancel culture mob. Because right now the mob is running wild, brother. The witch hunt is running wild. It's jumping from one target to the other, and the target doesn't really have to be necessarily wrong for that to happen. So, for all those people who draw some similarities between me and him. Maybe they do it in an innocent manner. Maybe they just think that I look like him or maybe I act like him. Good for you. But there are certain people who are actually looking for the chance to term me as the Indian version of Andrew Tate. Right now, he's the Voldemort. Don't do that. Worry about me too. I gotta stay safe sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I get why people would say that stuff, but I think I'm nowhere near as polarizing as Tate is. I'm very much subdued. I'm very much restrained with the way I say things, and I'm always pretty much neutral. But these days, even being neutral is considered polarizing. We will address that too in a bit.
Yeah. So I think I agree with you. If you judge a book by its cover, it looks very different. But having gone through a lot of your videos, your views are very different. And like it's not even close to what Andrew Tate would preach. But I think to what you said, like having a target on your back, right? Which brings me to one of our stories today. Do you really think it's about Andrew Tate? Because like this article is written, I think probably 3 4 days ago, right? Um, and media has this tendency to wish wash, the um, like I feel like they're a little bit intimidated that men are connecting with the right role models. Right. So this article is written, it says rejected and radicalized. Study links manfluencers, rejection and misogyny in young men. So some of the highlights of this article is that men are more and more attracted to manosphere, the men's rights activist, and we have like very controversial and polarizing views on gender and society, right? So they feel like it is fueling a distrust among men and they're starting to question contemporary feminist ideas, uh, promoting traditional gender roles. And they did some studies in Sweden and stuff to kind of check, how men's views are changing. And this whole article tells me just one thing, like, um, that they're complaining that men are becoming more and more misogynistic and anti-feminist by listening to them. Now this is not the first article that has ever come out like this. I think it's a toolkit. It shows up quite a lot, like I googled it, and a lot of media has copy pasted it. But why do hit pieces like this come out? And is Andrew Tate like the only target, or do you think like, they want to go after anybody and everybody who, doesn't support the liberal feminist ideas that they want to promote? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
First of all, I would like to warn my fellow men, especially the fellow men of India, to be very, very you could say skeptical and very careful about these studies that you see in the news. Study finds this, study finds that, all these, studies of human behavior that they claim to, you know, they claim that certain thing is this way. For example, they talk about menfluencers. They talk about menfluencers, about how they are radicalizing men, how they are turning them into misogynists. You need to understand that these so-called studies, they are more often than not, catering to a certain worldview, a certain ideology, and that ideology often finds itself on the left side of the political spectrum. You will, if you wish to look up, you will find a lot of studies like this, which are mostly catering to the narrative, leftist narrative, the mainstream narrative, so to speak. So you need to be very, very careful with these studies. And one example I bring up is there is this very, very famous study that regularly masturbating, prevents prostate cancer. And a lot of people addicted to this habit, they often bring up this study. I don't want prostate cancer. What are you talking about? I have to keep combing every single day, So they bring up this study a lot. But what you need to understand is that sometimes these studies, they have an agenda behind it. And they are more often than not written in your own best interests. Now let's talk about an example. Okay, let's talk about an example. Let's say I have a roommate. Okay, let's say I have a slave. Forget a roommate. I have a slave that I beat every once in a while, that I mistreat every once in a while, that I abuse every once in a while. And even then, the slave works for me. He has a job. He has a job. He gives me a portion of his income. He respects me despite how much I abuse him. Even if I manipulate him, even if I torture him, he still sees me in a good light, which is the textbook definition of slavery. He genuinely believes me to be a god. He genuinely believes me to be someone who is way, way higher than him. And he genuinely believes that the treatment that I am dishing out on him is somehow justified because of my higher status. All right. So, because he has accepted his servile status, he will never ever have problems with me beating him up. He may experience, some pain, physical pain, but mentally he'll be at peace. Now, let's say some guy from outside comes and tells that man, listen, there's something called dignity, there's something called self-respect, there's something called spine. You letting that man beat you up, abuse you, torture you, manipulate you is something which is not okay. You need to understand that you are equal to him. You are equal to him. You deserve respect too. You are a human being too. You have certain desires too. You have certain goals too. And you don't deserve being exploited and being used as a resource machine, as a slave by him anymore. What do you think my reaction would be to that person who is trying to brainwash my slave? My reaction would be absolute hostility. I will never ever let any external entity, any person from the outside, take my slave away from me. Okay. Now let's draw some parallels to this with what is happening in Indian society and in society in general, especially here in Indian society. If we talk about the blue pill, especially, men are brainwashed in a very, very sad way. To be honest, they are brainwashed especially to become cash cows, to become absolutely weak, to have no quality about themselves except the fact that they earn well, except the fact that they earn money. And what happens when the only quality you have about yourself is the fact that you earn money? The very, very obvious thing is that you'll be used as a cash cow. Not to speak of the fact that extremely biased laws exist in our country, which have a great propensity to be misused. And when they are misused, most men, they don't really have much choice but to take extreme steps. Now, all these things were happening for a long time. The people have been becoming aware about it only recently. These things were happening for a long time, but why did you not see any men coming out to, speak against it? You know why? Because all these men, most of these men, they thought that this is what normalcy is. This is the norm. This is the way things are supposed to be. A lot of you men must have heard happy wife, happy life. A lot of you men must have heard कि शादी होने के बाद, after you get married, life becomes hell. So if you want to have fun right now. After you get married, you won't be able to enjoy life. You must have heard all this and maybe dismissed it as humor, dismissed it, in a funny way. But it was a reality, and it still is a reality. The thing is, you used to dismiss it as humor back then because you did not see anything wrong with it. You are accustomed to this type of treatment. Now, a few men came up. Okay, few men came up. Some of them were the MRAs, the men's right activists. They started telling you, look, men, this is what is wrong, which is happening with you. You need to understand that in these ways, after you get married, these laws can be used against you. After you get married, you may come across certain extremely toxic women that will maliciously use those same laws which are made to protect them against you and destroy your entire life. The thing is, the average man, and I will come to this point soon, the average man lives in a sort of la la land. He believes that after marriage, after getting married to a woman, if that same woman was toxic before, if that same woman was disloyal before, the stamp of marriage magically turns her entire personality around and the life becomes heaven after that. You could blame the media, you could blame the movies, you could blame anything. But this is what the average man used to think. And there are so many men who think this way even now. But then came the MRAs, then came the red pill influencers, then came the men activists or whatever they are talking about, manosphere. Okay, and they started telling men that you need to open your eyes. You deserve some respect. You have some dignity. You don't deserve to be treated badly later in your marriage. No, marriage does not mean giving up your dreams, giving up your dignity, giving up your self-respect. Marriage does not mean, tolerating disrespect, tolerating abuse. You don't have to tolerate abuse from a woman just because she happened to be a victim of someone else. Okay, or just because she carries the badge of being the gender which was supposedly oppressed for so many thousands of years. You, as an innocent man, don't need to go through all that. And then they started telling them ways to protect them. Okay, they started telling the men that here are the ways you can protect yourself. Here are the ways you are getting manipulated. Here are the ways the society is manipulating you, media is manipulating you. Here are the ways you can deal with this manipulation. Here are the ways you can avoid ending up in a situation in which you will lose your money. Here are the ways you will avoid ending up in a situation in which you will be forced to delete yourself. And the thing is, this is the same thing which happens. It's akin to an external entity coming and telling your slave that you're being mistreated and you need to rebel, you need to get out. What do
Yeah,
you think the reaction of the slave master would be? It would be hostility. And this, all these studies that you see, all this demonization of menfluencers that you are seeing, it is all a reaction from the slave master. Now, who is the slave master? You could call it the society, you could call it, the gynocracy, you could call it the matrix, whatever you want to call it. But that is the violent reaction, that is the aggressive reaction towards those who are trying to pull out all these slaves from the market. You see, that is why you see all these articles being written. These articles should never be taken as a genuine concern. I agree, I agree. I accept the fact that there are certain men who, after seeing manosphere content or after coming into contact with menfluencers, they go completely to the other end of the extreme. As I have often expressed this concern that among our men there is this tendency to think in binary. So a man who is a complete pushover once in life, a complete pushover, a spineless man, you give him a little bit of advice on how to build himself up, he goes to the other extreme of becoming completely aggressive and hateful. That's also something I'm completely against. But in general, the intention is what matters. Okay? Intention is what matters. And the fact that we give advice with the intention to save, with the intention to make sure this type of exploitation ends, that is what matters. What the person does with the advice is up to the person, not with the person who's giving it. Don't shoot the messenger.
yeah. And actually, some people in the chat are saying your voice is breaking. It's true. Maybe I don't really know why it's breaking. It's giving a little bit of a static. Are you using headphones or is it just the phone catching the audio?
No, I don't really have headphones on. I think, is it breaking too much for it to be unhearable,
Chat, what do
or is
you
it?
think? Can you guys make it out, or is it too bad? I on my end, I'm getting it static. It's not really cutting out, but it's giving you like static in between. And looks like to me that when it goes on the louder end, it does that a little bit. So I reduced the levels, but I think your microphone is catching that.
Okay, let's see, is it still happening?
Chat, let us know if it's an issue. I'm able to understand what he's saying. Yeah,
Let's see what it.
they're saying they can understand you, so I think it's fine. Okay, so I think you mentioned something interesting. You said um, that happy wife, happy life. Like men are often forced into situations where they kind of have to compromise. You have this slave owner who's upset. You have to keep him happy, because if you keep him happy, you're happy, right? It reminds me of some relationship dynamics. So last month, yesterday was Women's Day, but last month was Valentine's Day, and there was like a very interesting tweet that was given by a couple, and I'm talking about Ajay, Devgan, and Kajol. So I don't know if you've seen this, but let me put it on the screen so everybody can see how men are really treated in a relationship, right? So this is Kajol on Valentine's Day, right? And let me find AJ as well. Okay. Okay, so where is it? Yeah, here. So Kajol and Ajay Devgan's Valentine's Day post sparked speculation on social media, right? If you go down here, you see his tweet. He says, figured early on who to share my heart with, and till date it remains the same. My Valentine today and every day, it's Kajol. Same day, right? Kajol takes out a tweet. She says, Happy Valentine's Day to myself. I love you. There's a clear disparity between, how much importance dudes want to give to women versus how much importance women give to guys, right? So what is this relationship, and I think you were trying to say something about happy wife, happy life. Like, yeah, what do you think about two completely different narratives from a couple?
The thing is, especially in this case, it's extremely disrespectful. Not just the picture. I mean, just the picture could have been fine. Okay, this woman posted her own picture. But the caption that she has added, Happy Valentine's Day to me, or whatever, it is clear disrespect to her husband. I don't know what is going on right now in their personal life, but it's actually disrespectful. But interestingly enough, you will see it happen a lot in even in your average couple. Okay, right now in this Ajay Devgan's case, the thing is, it's a clear reminder of the fact that you can be red pill about one thing while completely being blue pilled about the other. You can be red pilled about money, you could be blue pilled about women. You could be red pilled about women, you could be blue pilled about money. You could be red pilled about street smarts, the way world works, and be completely blue pilled about money and women. So just because Ajay Devgan happens to be handsome or rich doesn't make him an expert in every other field. You see, so many men are deluded that if Ajay Devgan is suffering in marriage, if he is having these problems, then who is the average man? You need to understand this. Just because you are a very very rich Bollywood actor, just because you happen to be handsome, just because you happen to look good, doesn't really guarantee you an amazing relationship with a woman. And secondly, if we talk about the whole happy wife, happy life narrative, it is being spread. It is being spread in a way that you know a very very sweet lie, a very very sweet sugar coated advice to make men servile. And there is a purpose to making men servile. We will address that later in this stream. But there is a purpose to making men servile. I myself have seen certain couples in which the man's Instagram profile is filled with pictures of both him and his woman and other people also. Meanwhile, the woman's profile does not have even one picture of her with her man. It's only either her, and in worst cases, it is her with her male friends. But no, her own partner, no, no, no. And she'll make tons of excuses about it that we are keeping our relationship secret and all that. Meanwhile, the man has your pictures all everywhere on Instagram. He's literally praising you in the captions. Meanwhile, on your own profile, there is nothing about the man, no sign of the man, almost as if you're single. Almost as if you're single. I don't know if that is intentional, but the message which goes is this: almost as if you're single, which means more Sims will be messaging you in your DMs. More Sims will tell you, Hi, dear, you are so beautiful. And dear is not the DEAR, the dear is DEER, that one with the antlers. So more men will be messaging you anyway if they know that you are single. If they get the impression that you're single, you don't have to tell them. In my opinion, it's extremely disrespectful. Any guy who is facing this should probably walk away. And the very fact that I'm telling you to walk away from these type of disrespectful situations may be taken as toxic advice. How dare this man tell men not to take substandard behavior? How dare this man tell them? And then another study would be written about, some random YouTuber called Goldclad was telling men to leave their girlfriend if she does not respect him. So it's going to be interesting. But this is one example. This is one example that I'm telling you that if your woman is acting like this, you are praising her like a poet in your account. Meanwhile, in her own account, she's like, "Oh, happy Valentine's Day to me." No pictures of you on her account. In my opinion, it's not that good.
Yeah, and I think it's like kind of like a selfish nature, right? Satyam is
Yeah.
asking, can you tell why Kajal is doing that? I think relationship dynamics are not that controlled by the guys than it is for women, because I think women get this authority that if I'm not happy, I can walk away, right? But if men are not happy, they're trapped. Like, what are you gonna give me? Maintenance alimonies? Are you gonna lose your children? So they don't really have the same option. And given that the power dynamics are set that way, it is understood that keep your wife happy, and if she is, then you will save your life. But if she's upset, she can destroy your life. So the lack of control in marriages, I think, probably is a contributing factor as to why guys compromise so much. I'll let her say whatever she wants to say. I'll let her be toxic. I'll just shut my mouth because I have much more to lose if I fight her. So that may be a dynamic. And that reminds me that Abhay Deol just, about 2-3 days ago was talking about why he chose to be single, right? And he was talking about having been in a relationship for probably about 5-6 years, and then deciding that he doesn't want to get married, and say something about, hey, it's better to be lonely than to get in a relationship with somebody and feel miserable, right? Those were his words. So I think some guys realize how things work early on, and they are like, they think it's better to avoid it than to take such a big risk. Whereas then other guys enter the marriage and then they find out, surprise, there's nothing you can do if your woman is being bad. And I think AJ is kind of like that phenomena. And I think before we talk about Ave, I actually reminds me that this is also not the first time that Kajol has said something disrespectful towards her husband. Now, before I actually want you to see something. I love irony as a person, and I came across a clip. Let me see if I can still find it. Give me a moment.
By the way, masculinity rocks. Is my voice clear now, or is it still cutting out? Using earphones now. Chat.
Pretty sure it was tweeted by this account right here. Okay,
he wants everything to be served.
So, Goldclad. So I'm gonna share my screen so you can hear my audio as well.
Is my voice fine now? Is it still cutting out?
It is not cutting out. It's just there's a static in between. What do you want to do? Do you want to try go out and come back in and see if that fixes it? Is that what you want?
It's fine. As long as you understand me, as long as the chat understands me.
Yeah, chat was saying they can understand you. Chat, let us know if there are any issues. Okay, they're saying his voice is low. I can fix that.
Yeah, chat, please let us know if there's any issue. Yeah. I also got some messages that my voice is low. Okay.
Okay, chat. How about now? Is this better? Let me know
Okay,
if there's.
is it better now, chat? Just let us know so that we can continue.
Warrior is on echo mode. Let me just go to the stream and see what they're hearing. Just give me a sec. I'll just check it out myself.
It's echoing now. Yeah, it's echoing now. Yeah, Barbarian is. Yeah, I'm here. Is it better now, chat? Just let us know. Okay, guys, just I'll just keep
Warrior is
speaking
on
you.
echo mode. Let me just go to the stream and let me take it off on this screen. I'll just check it myself.
Yeah, I think it is better now from what I hear. From what I see in the chat. Okay, is it fine? Okay, brother, it's fine now. It's fine from what I see in the chat.
It's better now. It's good. Okay, I think they're good. Okay, so Goldclad. So I'm gonna play this video. Okay, so this is basically somebody trying to preach what men's role should be in a marriage, right? Yeah.
मेरे जूते ले आओ, मेरा चश्मा ले आओ, मेरी चाबी ले आओ. I was like, really? Hello, I'm not your mother. I said, you're not my father. I told him, I was like, boss, what is this? I know I can cook.
Yeah.
But you have to help me.
Yes.
So he's like, हाँ, okay. So I was like, yeah, you better. साथ में हाथ बटाओ, सब औरत का काम नहीं है घर चलाना. So then he started helping and doing things. Because the background I come from, हमने सब कुछ घर पे खुद किया है. Because it's your house, what's the shame?
I think mums also need to tell their boys.
Tell their Raja Beta.
Raja beta. Yeah.
Bhai, yes, times have changed. You know, we are in a world where you need to do your own thing. A lady is not marrying a man, she's actually marrying a kid. He wants everything.
So the point I'm trying to make is that we get a lot of preaching, right, from women, like, hey, you should play this role, you should do the chores, you should help him out. But a minimal respect is not even given when you have a husband. So I was talking about Kajol, okay, and there was let me see where that is. There's a clip of her from a couple years ago. I'm just gonna put that on the screen as well. Give me a second. Okay, so this was her interview with Twinkle just a couple years ago. Okay, and she's speaking about her relationship with AJ in this video. Okay, just look at what she has to say.
Have also working for most of your life, so you have also amassed a small fortune of your own. You'll divide up bills. Who pays for everything? You, like, for example, in our life, all the kids' school education I pay for.
Okay.
Because then I can tell them, "Tum padhe likhe ho only because of me." So do you all split things, or is it all him? Is it?
No, it's, I think
Whoever has money?
See, I'm very clear about this. Ajay and me are very clear. जो तेरा है वो मेरा है, जो मेरा है वो मेरा है.
Yeah,
So
okay,
we're very
I
very
get
clear
that.
about that. And of course बच्चे तो मेरे ही हैं.
Of
I mean,
course.
like,
Yeah.
yes. So I mean, like, yeah. I mean, they're there, but but I think it's more about convenience, honestly.
So what I want to ask, right? Now it becomes very convenient. Like, you hear two very different preachings here. You have one woman telling you men should do chores, they should play their role, right? And then on the other side, you're talking about, hey, what's yours is also mine, what's mine is also mine, meaning all financial expenses are on you. And children are mine because I gave them birth. So this narrative of equality is kind of selective in nature. It's like, we want to take from guys, we want to make them do work for us, but we don't want to do anything back, right? So this is the same woman that doesn't show minimum respect. You know, his guy is appreciating her on Valentine, right? She's saying happy Valentine's Day to myself. She doesn't respect him. Then she says half of his money is mine. But whatever I do, I won't give to the guy, right? So, like, sheer hypocrisy. So what I think what I want to ask is, like, what is the advantage of guys who are trying to get into relationships and marriages? Like what do you stand to gain at this point? You know? Like, if
You see, the thing is, there's one thing that normal people need to understand is that beyond all the money, beyond all the fame, beyond all the glamour, these two people, they are human beings at the end. Especially Ajay Devgan, he's a human being, you know. He's a man, okay? And the same anxiety that you face dealing with women, dealing with relationships, he also faces behind closed doors. You don't get to see that because you only know him as Singham and that man in Gangajal. But the thing is, behind all that, all those characters, is a man who also happens to be vulnerable, who also a lot of times does not have any idea what he's doing in the relationship. And coming on to this behavior that we saw right now, जो तेरा है वो मेरा है और जो मेरा है वो भी मेरा है. The thing is, That's the zeitgeist that we are living today here in this nation. A woman can say borderline outrageous things and not get cancelled for it. Meanwhile, if a man had said something like that, of course we know what would be happening. He would be termed as toxic, and articles would be written about him. That study finds that men who have this mindset happen to be radicalized because of certain people. This is something which we need to understand. That outrageous statements are only punished in general if a man makes them. If a woman makes the same statements, it is considered funny. Oh, it's humor. It's humor. It's funny. It's really sweet. Oh my God, look at her speaking something funny. In the same way, we will come on the topic of outrageous statements too, because we have to address something related to that as well. Other than that, if your question was that is it really worth coming into a relationship, the thing is, this woman's behavior after getting married, I really refuse to believe that she wasn't like this before these two got married. You see, at least to some degree, to some level, these tendencies, these disrespectful tendencies, these extremely blatant, belligerent tendencies must have been visible even at the time when they were together. It's not like these two came into an arranged marriage, from what I know, but he definitely knew her for a long time before this. So yeah, if you actually know the woman, you know that she possesses certain toxic traits. You know that she possesses certain traits, personality traits that will amplify after getting married, because yeah, they will amplify. If she does have some negative traits, they will amplify after you get married. But what is the common knowledge in the blue pill world? The common knowledge is if she is toxic, if she is evil, all those traits will disappear after I marry her. This is because this is what the movies show you, right? The woman does not like the man. Somehow the man marries her. Now suddenly she's in love with him. The woman, is literally verbally abusing the man, shooing him away. But somehow the man convinces her to marry him, and now magically she's in love with him. That's sadly the common notion, and I've heard many guys say this. Literally, women who have cheated on them in relationships, they believe that in case somehow they end up marrying her, somehow they convince her to marry them. Somehow, some change would happen inside her mind, and some metamorphosis would happen just because this label of marriage got placed onto her, and she will change. So if you are with a girlfriend who happens to be very toxic, who happens to be very disrespectful, you consider it normal, because let's be clear, let's truth be told, it is considered normal amongst couples to hurl abuses at each other, call each other kutta, call each other chutia, and all that. It's considered normal. It's considered funny. I knew a couple back in college. It was a woman who was in relationship with her senior, and they used to, whenever they used to call each other, they used to hurl abuses at each other. He used to call her kutia, she used to call him kutta and chutia and God knows what. And the other women, the other girls, found it cute. In fact, one woman pointed to me and said, look, listen to her, it's so funny, right? Such a cute couple. He calls her, he swears at her, then she swears at him. Such an amazing cute couple. And I was like, this is the type of notion, this is the norm that we have created. This man perhaps will end up marrying her. Maybe, if he is too unlucky. Perhaps will end up marrying her, and she will end up marrying him. Bad for both of them. You see, because all these cute insults that you are looking at right now, all these very adorable, adorable abuses that you are hearing right now, these will amplify into something very disrespectful post marriage. You see, the relationship between a man and woman, it needs to be respectful. I don't care how young you are. I don't care where you come from. It does not have to act. It does not have to be like a friendship relationship. Like among friends you banter, among your friends you sometimes swear at them, call them names, and God knows what. Okay, your girlfriend is not your friend. Your boyfriend is not your friend. He's not your bestie. Okay, he's your couple. You're a couple. You are in love with each other, and that's why there needs to be some respect. Why there needs to be some respect is because if a man, especially if a man allows a woman to walk over him even a little bit, she will take that as a green light and she will walk over him completely, because that man will keep failing her tests. The thing is, the more you fail the tests in the first go, the tests will be amplified. Now the test will be harder. Then she will test you again. You fail it again. Then she will keep losing respect for you until she does not respect you at all. All these manifestations that you are seeing on social media and all these interviews that you are watching right now, these are the result of a lot of tests being failed, and also perhaps of choosing the wrong partner in the first place.
But
So yeah,
what?
if you're getting into a relationship, if
Yeah,
you're getting into a relationship,
what would you? What can you even do as a man? I think if you're in a relationship, like you can do these
yeah,
tests, right?
yeah,
And probably identify the red flags.
yeah.
But as somebody who's entered marriage, I think, and you were just trying to say that they will amplify when you go into the
Mm.
marriage. Um, what can you even do about that, right? Like, I think sometimes what happens is even as you're dating a girl, and if she's really interested in you, right? She sometimes learns what you like, and then projects that image, right? So it's kind of like an act that you're putting up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like for
Yes.
example, look at Logan Paul. Okay, I think he's the biggest idiot in the world. It's his words. He went in the interview. He goes, "The reason why I'm dating my girlfriend is because she
Sure.
played very hard to get. Like it wasn't easy. Like I had to chase her for a really long time." And he goes, "I'm
Mm.
afraid of women having high body count or insecurity about basically her having slept around and all that." And to
Mm.
basically his test was that if a girl plays hard to get, then she must have not slept with other guys that easily as well. But then there was
Uh,
this but then there was this
oh,
fight about Dylan Dennis and him, and
yeah.
Dylan kept throwing all of these images of her having dated the whole Hollywood, basically. Like he was the last guy in the line. So what did we
I
learn
didn't
from
see
that?
that.
Is that
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
women are smart. Women are hearing that guys don't like having a high body count, so they're learning that. It's like AI gets programmed, becomes better, right? I think human beings are like that too. If women know that you don't like a high body count, she can
yeah.
just act. And I think she was putting up an act by playing hard to get to make him think that she does that with other guys. So it's just like a learned behavior. So how exactly would you tell, like, if somebody's being honest, or the red flags or green flags that you're identifying are even real, or is she just faking it for the purposes of, courting you during the dating phase?
You see, first of all, I focus a lot on prevention, on preventing these situations from happening in the first place. That's why I put too much focus on choosing the type of woman that you wish to marry and choosing her wisely. I put too much focus on being completely intolerant when it comes to even the smallest signs of disrespect, the smallest signs of red flags. And I often say to people, I mean, of course, Nina Agdal and Logan Paul's example uh, can be, they have a different world. They live in a different world. We are normal people. You see, when we rise to their level of popularity, when we rise to their level, when they have way, way, way more options, especially the woman, when she has way, way, way more options, things turn even harder at that level. But for the average man, if he's getting into a relationship, he needs to be in a relationship with the woman at least for 1.5 years before he decides to marry her. The thing is, you are right about the fact that when she gets to know your preferences, when she gets to know what you like and you don't like, she will act. She'll put on an act. She'll put on a facade to fool you and to make sure that she keeps acting that way until you sign, until you get into a marriage with her, and then she can act whatever the way she wants, because then you cannot really get out that easily. That's what I'm saying. Why don't you consider your intentions? What is the need of letting her know what are your preferences, what are your standards with women? I'm not talking about tolerating blatant disrespect. Of course, that is something that needs to be nipped in the bud the very very first time it comes out. But the thing is, with other things, for example, let's say body count. I have made a video on body count as well. The thing is, if you tell her right away, right when you meet her, that my preferences are that I would only marry a woman with body count of 25, okay, or with a body count of 0. If you tell her beforehand, she's more likely to lie, or she's more likely to twist the facts to make sure that you stay with her. That's what we saw in the case of the recent deletion that happened. The thing is, a man needs to appear completely non-judgmental. A man needs to keep his preferences and everything else concealed if he actually wants to gauge whether the woman who is with him is genuinely the right fit for him or not. If you lay down your conditions right in front of her, then of course she'll be acting. She'll put on an act. She'll put on a facade. Secondly, the second fact is that if you're with her for long enough time, like 1.5 years, the thing is, doesn't matter how much conscious she is about acting, she really cannot be consistent with it for more than 6 months. If you're continuously talking to her, continuously connected to her, after 6 months, that whole mask will collapse. In some way, it will start to collapse because she won't be able to keep it up for that long. Even as men, no matter how controlled we are with our emotions, we lose character at times. We lose character. Her mask will slip off way earlier than 6 months. You don't even have to wait that much. But yeah, if you are taking that time of at least 1.5 years to be with her, to date her, to be in a relationship with her, before you decide to marry her, even in that time, you have to be extremely intolerant with any form of disrespect. I don't care whether she called you the names which you don't consider offensive. I don't care whether she was just going to movies with one of her male friends and they just happened to hold hands. Nothing that big of a deal. I don't care if she just went to a party late at night with her male friend and they just hugged. I don't care. If there is anything that even hurts your standards even a little bit, you need to let her go. The moment you start to gaslight yourself and the moment you start to accept certain disrespectful behaviors because you believe that it's not really that bad, that's when you're making a mistake. And it comes out of scarcity mindset. It comes out of the mindset that if I let her go, I will not get anyone better. And if you have this mindset, of course, you can stay with the one that you want, but you'll destroy your life later. Because as I said before, these tiny, cute behaviors that you're seeing, they will amplify themselves after marriage. You will know you have found the right partner. First of all, you will know you have found the right partner if all through those months, all through those years, she has minimal instances of walking over you, or in the best case, absolutely zero, which can happen for a lot of black pill people. That is not possible. But in real life, yeah, it happens. Of course, it is rare. But if I'm talking to the people here, I don't really want you guys to be common. I don't really want you guys to be minal. I want you guys to be the rare ones. Okay? You cannot really save the world. We cannot really have the mindset of saving the entire world and lifting everyone up and making them all ascend. The thing is, you talk to an average person about all this, he'll laugh at you. He will just think that you are thinking too much. It's not really that bad. You see, that's why I don't really care about uplifting the entire world. I'm talking to the few people who actually wish to become rare, who wish to end up in rare situations. So yeah, if you're getting into a marriage, of course, I completely am against the idea of arranged marriage because today it is a gamble. You have no idea. You have no idea who you're ending up with and what she would turn after. Because the little time that you get to talk to her, let's say you get 6 months to talk to her, she will make sure, first of all, it will of course be a facade because now her family's reputation depends on her and everything else. If she somehow messes it up, her own family will, scold her. So she has to, of course, be extra conscious, extra careful. If you are in a relationship, she's a little bit more free. If you do get into a marriage like this, where you ended up marrying someone who happens to be extremely disrespectful, in India's case, it is often too late. In India's case, it is often too late because even if you, let's say, decide to live that life, keeping your head down, you may if you want to. That's what many men choose. But let's say you wish to walk away, then be prepared to say goodbye to a chunk of your money that you yourself must have earned with a lot of hard work. You see, that's how you need to operate. If you can't find anyone that suits your standards without you having to tell her your standards, then simply stay away from her. No need to marry her.
Yeah, and I think I want to ask you, like, I think so. A lot of times, like you were saying, guys would compromise and ignore red flags for the purposes of, you said scarcity mindset, like, hey, I don't have that many options. So if I let her go, I won't find somebody else. So it's better I just compromise right now, right? And there is like a real struggle for dudes. Like, I think it's understood as there's no need to deny it. Like the options or available partners for dudes are like negligible, but for women the supply is overinflated, right? So I actually want to show you like some of the information or surveys that have come out, right, from OkCupid, for example. Let me see if I can enlarge this image. Right, yeah, okay. So this is released by OkCupid, and it tells you how the top one is how men rate women. Okay, so it's kind of very well distributed across. Okay, least attractive is to the left, most attractive to the right, and you can see distribution is even. Guys rating women. Then at the bottom, this is how women rate men. Okay, they find majority of the guys least attractive. 0%. In the most attractive, it says 0%. The standards are so high that nobody is most attractive for ladies, and 2 to 5 or 12% are somewhat attractive, but then majority, I think you add 30 plus 27, 60, 70, 73% of the guys that they're saying are least attractive. So a lot of time red pill guys would say things like that top 20% of the men get all the ladies, and 80% of the guys are left with nothing. And people look at these red pill guys as like crazy, like you're trying to basically give inflammatory statements that have no realistic ground. But I think this rating that OkCupid has released proves their point, because they're admitting that 80% of guys are not attractive to them, and they're only leaning towards 20%. So it's corroborated. But guys' standards are not that high. They're pretty low. They're distributed. So I think what I want to ask you, I get this lack of availability of partners. Like, hey, as a guy, I don't have that many options. She has a lot of options. And these standards that each one of them impose on each other, right? The disparities and the gap is very clear. So which one comes first? Does the chicken, like it's a chicken and egg thing. Who came first, right? Is it that guys dropped their standards so much, they oversupplied, and because they oversupplied, their value degraded to the point that women don't respect them because they have so many options? Or is it the opposite? Is it that, hey, I have so many options, that's why I don't value you, all right? Or or that's why I have high standards. So like, how did we get into this situation, and how can dudes fix it? And most importantly, if you have the scarcity problem, like, is it better to compromise and stay with a girl, or is it better to be lonely and dump her? Like, just own up to it. Like, what are your thoughts on all of this?
You see, a few months ago, I made a video saying that 80% of men are invisible to women. And in that video, I used the example that these days we have a lot of stuff going around about body count, right? Many men are talking about body count. And in the comments, you will see certain women saying, why are you only telling women about body count? What about the men? Men are players. Men have such huge body counts. And the average man would stop and think, wait a minute. Number one, I don't really have much female experience in my life. My friends don't really seem to have much female experience in my life. They're all crying about someday they would be having a girlfriend. I mean, that's the reality of the average man in this nation, not talking about the West. But here in India, there's a lot of factors which make sure that your average man loses virginity after his marriage, right? After his arranged marriage. So the average man sits and thinks, what are these girls talking about? Who are these girls talking about? Which player? Which man has such an amazing body count? Which man has such a high body count? Who is she talking about? And I use that example to just, demonstrate the fact that the average man is invisible to her. When she's talking about men, when she's talking about men having high body count, enormous body count, why are you only talking about women? She's not talking about you, brother. She's not talking about the average man. She's not talking about the man who is wondering why is she talking about it. That's what I tell these men, that she's not talking about you. She's talking about the man that she's looking at, and that man that she's looking at is up there. Okay, she's always aiming high. That arrow that comes out from her name, that's aiming diagonally upwards. The graph that you showed, it's of course from OkCupid. OkCupid used to be, I think it still is, I don't know. It used to be a dating site.
Yeah.
In real life, these trends are kind of okay. Yeah, top 20% men. But if you ever go onto a dating site, you will get disappointed, because dating site is even more cruel for men. While in reality, it could be around 20% men being chosen. On dating site, it is like 1% men being chosen. Okay, because dating sites are basically only looks. All right, On dating sites, you have to look extremely good to succeed, especially if we are talking about the West. I don't know how it is in India because I've never used dating sites. But in
Yeah,
real
so
life, you will at least have an advantage because if, let's say, you look average or you look above average, you can compensate that with your wit. You can compensate that with the way you communicate, whatever. Dating site only about the way you look and maybe a little bit of those texting skills, but that happens only after you match, right? These facts that you showed, these graph, yeah, it becomes even more crazy when you talk about dating site, as you can see in real life, like in real outside of the internet, it happens to be 20%. But about those 80%, the bottom 80%, believe me, they are invisible. Okay, that's why you hear them talking about men having high body counts, and then the average man wonders why. Who is she talking about? Men don't really have a high body count. Now, to your next question, if a man happens to be among the bottom 80%, it's nothing to be ashamed about. All right, everybody starts somewhere. You need to work on yourself to reach 20% somehow, the top 20%, if you wish to be in this dating game. Otherwise it's all up to you. Secondly, you said if a man is encountering disrespectful behavior, if a man's standards are not being met, should he stay and take that, or
yeah,
should he
because
just let it go?
he doesn't have that many
Yeah,
options, right? As we're
even
establishing.
even
Yeah.
if he doesn't have any options, should he stay or just leave her and live with zero options? In my opinion, I would say that he should, leave her and still live with zero options. Better to stay alone with your self-respect than be humiliated in a relationship. The amount of psychological damage that men with scarcity mindset endure trying to stay in a relationship in which they are not valued, it is crazy. It drives them to mental illness. You need to stay away from such a dynamic in which you're not respected, whether it's a man or whether it's a woman. You need to make your way out. The thing is, a man who just uses his scarcity as a reason for him to stay in an abusive dynamic, he will be left broken. He'll be hollowed out by the time he even thinks about making his way out. So I would say that, yeah, your self-respect, your dignity comes first. Doesn't matter right now, you have no options. You can still work on yourself later, maybe 2 years later, maybe next month you will have more options. Depending on you, depends on your progress, depends on who you are. It depends. But right now, if you're not respected in a dynamic, make your way out right away. Save your mental health, save your dignity. You will thank yourself for doing this. Okay, because most men do not cannot bring up the courage to make their way out of toxic relationships. Only courageous men can do that. Only a brave man can tell a woman to go her own way. Only a brave man can break up with her. Or what do we see? We see in general women break up with men, women dump men, right? You also asked about this whole skewed data, that why is the dating preferences so skewed? Men are in general, evenly distributed. Their preferences are evenly distributed. Meanwhile, women's preferences are so skewed. I would say there are two things involved in this. First of all, is hypergamy, of course, natural preferences, and second is, of course, that there are a lot of men who are dropping their own standards, and that comes out of scarcity mindset. And to see an example of this, all you need to do is go to your nearest remotely good looking woman, open up her Instagram or Facebook, and go to her message requests, and you will see the reason. You see. So, men also need to have some set standards in their mind. They need to understand that if they have some value in their life, if they have some qualities in their life, they will provide it only to a woman who actually has earned it and who actually deserves it. They will not provide it to any woman that happens to give them a little crumb of attention. Okay. And if they cannot find a woman like that, they should be comfortable with the idea of being alone. It is better to be alone than to be with someone who has settled for you or who doesn't respect you. It's better to be alone than settling for someone yourself.
Yeah, and talking about standards, so these are women's standard. Okay, so this tweet was going viral. Let's just take a look at what it reads. It says, "Dear Indian men, marriage is a favor women do for you. We don't marry for love and desire. Yes, we will be selfish and heartless. Yes, we'll divorce what we want for whatever reason. Yes, we'll take alimony. No prenups won't work. We don't need marriage. You do. Take it or F off." Okay, so this is the level of arrogance and standards that are being imposed. Now, you might think, that this is just rage bait. To some extent, it is. But there is, like, I think everything on social media is amplified. However, I think it comes from some place of truth, right? Like, women wouldn't relate to tweets like this or make it go viral if they didn't personally feel some element of truth in it. So I came across a study, and this is from Match.com. Okay, Match.com, if you don't know what it is, it is basically the company that runs groups of dating apps, including Tinder. In their study, they found that 71% of women are not likely to date someone shorter than themselves, right? It's a standard. And there was something about finances here as well. Let me see what it said. Give me a second. Yeah, no, I think that's all it says. It doesn't say anything about finances, but it says they won't date somebody with a credit card debt. And then there's a third one. Okay, this is from India Today. Now I actually heard some of your videos. I watched them, and I think you were talking about something related to how women always have a backup partner. They have a roster, so you're very replaceable as a guy to them, right? It's not very valuable. So this study was released years ago. It said 50% of women in relationship have a backup partner in mind, and it gives you the details of who that backup partner is. Let's see, I'll try to find what it says. A slight percentage also said, speaking about survey, for our research to establish that 50% of women in relationship have a plan B is a worrying sign. Okay, a small percentage of women also said that their feelings for their backup plan were equivalent to the amount that they have for their current partner. The study states that in most cases it is an old friend who has harbored feelings for the particular woman, or else it could also be an ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, a colleague or her friend at the gym. Look, I don't want to be the guy that gives dudes a lot of insecurity. A lot of times people throw narratives that guys don't let women go to work because they feel insecure about them cheating. I don't know how true is that, but I mean, some of these studies are concerning. That you enter into a marriage, she doesn't really respect you. This oversupply of men that you have fed him, she's taking advantage. She has her friends, her ex-boyfriends, ex-husbands, guys at the gym, guys at the work, and anytime I will replace the dude, right? And then they're also voicing our opinions on social media. We want alimony. We have our standards. You want it, take it, or let go. So now you were saying that try to be the 20% if you're in the 80%. But my point is, logically speaking, is it like if somebody's gonna be the 20%, most guys will always be the 80%, right? It's just mathematics, right? Like you put somebody from bottom to top, 80, the ratio doesn't really change, right? Somebody has to be 80% for somebody to be 20%. It's just like in stock, if you're winning, somebody has to lose, right? You're selling at a high price, somebody's buying at a low price, but the ratio will never change that way. What is a larger solution? Like, is there no getting out of this? Like, you're kind of like trapped in kind of like a loop, right? Where, women just have an upper hand and guys just cannot escape. And you're saying, since most guys are gonna be the 80%, they should prefer to be alone rather than to enter into these toxic marriages with women imposing all the standards. But can you see any solution out of this for most guys at all?
You see, that's the dark truth that if we think of a solution that's going to benefit everyone, there is not going to be a solution. Nature is cruel, nature is cruel, brother. That's what we tell in our spaces too. That, yeah, 20%, then 80%, the 80%, there will always be some men in the 80%. Even amongst the 20%, some will fall behind and they'll become a part of the 80%. That's how the world is going to be, and it is not going to stop. It is a never ending game. Yeah, if you wish to be a part of the game, you have to understand the rules of the game. The thing is, to be at a disadvantage in this game, you have two choices. Number one, to take the L and understand where you are, and then decide to move ahead, do whatever you can under your capacity to be better, to become, a little bit better every single day. Or else you have another option that you can just feel bad about yourself and wish for a utopia in which you shall also get the same level of values, the same level of respect, the same level of attraction from the women. The thing is, the gender dynamics, they happen to be very ruthless. You see, whatever you see when breakups happen, a lot of guys, they see when breakups happen is that the same, very, very same women who used to love them a lot, who used to be very affectionate towards them, turns into a completely cold individual, turns into a completely ruthless individual who disrespects them very, very calmly, who is cold to them very, very easily. And then these guys get shocked. The study that you mentioned, that a lot of women have a backup partner lined up. You see, the thing is, in many cases that I have personally seen amongst my subscribers, it has been true that there has always been a backup partner before the breakup even happened. She had planned her way out way before the breakup even happened. And that's really, really strange. That may be hurting for a lot of guys, but that is the reality. As a man in this world, you need to understand that the rules of the game may be skewed, may be against you in some ways, you know, but that's how you are supposed to play. And they are not going to end. The hierarchy is going to keep upgrading, the hierarchy is going to keep going forward. Amongst the 20%, there will be some who will fall into 80% again, because the game shall keep going on, the game shall keep increasing its levels.
But
But
don't
there's
you?
one more there's
But
one more thing you
yeah,
need to understand. There's one more thing you need to understand. One very, very important thing is that let's say that men who look extremely handsome, let's say men who look like Brad Pitt, are extremely sought after. Hypothetically, we will term them amongst the top 0.5%, let's say. Okay. And a woman, of course, let's say you ask your nearest woman, do you find this man handsome? You'll be like, yeah, I find him extremely handsome. I find him completely, like, amazing. Just like an average man would say that he finds Megan Fox attractive, whatever. But the thing is, seeing her tell you that she finds him attractive doesn't mean that Brad Pitt will come in the dating market and take your girl away from you. Okay, certain things women will say, and then they will do completely different things. That's why I don't really go by all these reels that you see these days, or all these headlines that you see these days, in which women say that I want a man who earns 10 lakh rupees per month or 1 crore rupees per month. Yeah, they may say that they want a man like that. But then the man that they end up with, you see, the man that they end up with, that may be completely different. In the same way that they say, I want a man who is very, very in touch with his emotions, who loves crying, who can hug me and cry on my shoulder. And in reality, when confronted with a man, they choose a completely different type of man. So yeah, we know that a woman who is fantasizing about Brad Pitt right now, she can't really have Brad Pitt. She's your ordinary woman, just like you can't really have Megan Fox, but you fantasize about her.
but that's why women get frustrated, right? Like, that when you're getting into a marriage, it's a monogamy. Like, as long as you're dating, it's a polygamy. You can have as many partners as you want, but you cannot always have your ideal guy, with high standards for marriage, because he can only have one marriage. You can't marry all the women. So then it leads to frustration. It's like women feel like they're settling for the guy. I've seen some matrimonial ads where women comes up with a list. These are all the options I have. This guy's bald, but he makes a lot of money. this guy is handsome and tall, but he makes less money, and he will put down all the lists, put it on social media, and ask, which one should I choose because I'm compromising? Where should I compromise, right? Then after the marriage, a lot of the frustration comes out, and I think this is true in whose case? Yeah, some people were speculating. I don't know if it's true. Like I think we saw in Atul Subhash's case where his wife would go, "You should look like a K-pop star," because in her mind she wants to date K-pop star, and because she can't get him, now she's settling for this Indian guy, and then mentally abusing him after the marriage. That, hey, I settled for you. You know, I picked you up. I didn't want to, like, you're not my first choice, right? Similar dynamics are seen in Manav Sharma's case. People are speculating, you know, that I think in the FIR, I don't know if it's, yeah, in the FIR, it is written by probably her father, that she would keep saying things like, you know, I could have had so many other guys, you know, and I settled with you. But let me amuse you. You know, talking about a solution, I don't think it is so I think you said it's a hard game, but you have to play it, and I feel like it is really toxic for guys, right? Like, because what you're doing is you're saying compete with each other, and whoever wins the competition, the reward is given as a reward to the woman, the queen, right? So I think earlier you were saying it's kind of like men are being made into servile servants or slaves, right? So that's what's happening. Like, you look at, for example, Rome. Imagine, hypothetically speaking, they made a bunch of guys fight in an arena and announced that whoever wins after committing all this violence will get to marry the queen. I don't know what the benefit for the dudes is in that, you know, but I can see how women are picking. You know, like, I think I was trying to explain to my community, the minute you have competition, you encourage the quality of anything to become better. Like, you can look at it in general economics. You make 10,000, 100,000 people compete in tests. They try to do one up each other, right? The fact that they compete so much makes the entire talent pool better. And you find the best talent, it is given to, you know, like a top company. But the difference is that if you get hired in Amazon or Facebook, they also give you the top pay. You have the best salary of all the companies, right? So competition is rewarded. But in cases of women, where the guys are competing with 80% to become the top 20%, women are not really giving anything back, right? They're just taking. They're like, yeah, you compete, find the best guy, and whatever you find is the best guy, I'll keep and I'll reap all the benefits, right? So I wanna like bring up this chart that we had posted in our community, right? Gender benefits of being in a relationship. Okay, in the middle there is like, these are common benefits, like both genders get. It's like sex, emotional support, status. Both sides get it. And then there is a right for women, which is exclusively only women get this from dating, right? Free dinners, his money. You heard Kajol, his money is my money. Doors held for you, male servants, attention on you, you're never wrong, treated like a princess, protection, free gifts. I think to greater extent it is true, right? But for guys, what is exclusively that they're getting from it? Nothing. So mainly I was and I think I want to show one more thing to just make up my point, right? Hold on, let me pull this up. Okay, so I found this right here. Okay, so corroborating, right? There is a meme. So eventually what I wanted to ask is, like, what are guys working up to for all this competition? And I think this meme is a perfect example. You compete all that, become a better person, and your reward is this meme. Like he's basically proposing, "Will you destroy my life?" Oh my God, yes. And there was another meme that said, "Ask a woman to describe what a good man looks like, and watch her describe a slave." Right. So is it worth all of this? And as a solution, I think this is complicated, okay? But let me run you through this, and I want to see what you think about this. I think for guys to resolve this problem, it is not going to help if small group or individual men start raising their standards. They're almost going to lose, right? Like, because like you pull yourself out of the dating market by holding really high standards. So I'm like, okay, no worries, I have like 1,000 other guys, you know, they'll just go there, so you just won't get laid, basically, as an example. But I think as a solution, let's just say it was a mass exodus, right? Let's say 30, 40, 50% of the men start saying, we're not dropping our standards, our standards are high, we're also not going to approach you anymore, we're not going to give you any attention, women, right? So women are going to lose all of this supply that they are having right now. Like, let's just say it's revoked. So the fact that women don't have that many options then, does it change the way women treat men? Do women drop their standards then? And how realistic is the solution that collectively guys at some point can come up to, you know, that, hey, we give up, you know, like we don't want to continue dating like this. So what do you think about that? Is that a solution that'll work for all guys?
Okay, there are a few things to address here. First of all, about the very first time, the very first point that you talked about, that it may seem akin to being servile for a man to constantly compete with other men to be noticed by women, and that is akin to pedestalizing a woman. Of course, many people would take it that way, that a man is pedestalizing a woman just by the fact that he has to compete ruthlessly with other men to get noticed in the dating world. I understand that. The thing is, it is not akin to servility, because he has a choice. He has a choice of opting out of the dating market altogether. The thing is, when you enter the dating market, the rules are the rules. I don't care what you think about it. I don't care if you feel that those rules are, you know, hunky dory, or whether they are toxic. The thing is, those are the rules. You can't really change it. If you want the government to intervene in it, you know, impose some sort of socialism in the dating market, that as these women will only choose these type of men, or every single man should get one girlfriend, government should provide it. I know
No,
there are a lot of people whose fantasies, you know, happen to
but
be this way.
no, but
There used to be this.
let me propose a practical solution, okay?
Yeah.
So okay, let's take for example. Okay, let me first highlight, you know, when I give a solution like that, what most guys might be thinking, you know, where I'm saying like, hey, if you want the attention gap to be closed, if you want women to put efforts, if you want women to approach you, if you want women to value you, you know, and not treat you as disposable, then stop approaching them, revoke the supply, right? It'll make them come to you and value you. It's basically like disposable cups, right? Disposable cups, there are a lot of them. There are endless disposable cups. You know, you use one, you throw it, there's another one, I don't care. But you give somebody a gold glass, gold is very scarce to come by. You know, nobody's gonna throw it like that. You know, you wouldn't come by another one easily. So it's about supply. So when I suggest a solution like, hey, revoke the supply, right? And women will start treating you better. The first thing guys will come up to, dude, yeah, you're telling a small group of us to pull out. But that just means the few guys that are left will now.
Let me address that. Let me address that. That's very like a very common concern among people. The thing is, talking about supplies and revoking supplies, brother, the supply of men that women actually prefer is already scarce. You know, such men are already rare. I addressed this in one of my videos about whether women do actually have a lot of options, because of course the options seem pretty inflated, right? And I addressed the point in that video, and I talked about how they do seem to have a lot of options, because of course you'll find thousands of men approaching them, trying to talk to them, trying to simp for them. But the thing is, the type of man that she would feel attracted to, that man still happens to be very rare. You see, there are many men running after her, right? And it might seem that, yeah, she is the celebrity and they are the fans. But there is no celebrity who would actually hang out with a fan. would actually give importance to a fan, the celebrity would, like a sponge, soak in all the attention, all the value that the fans are giving to him. But he would never actually go down to the level of the fan to give him the same value back. The woman may seem to have a lot of option. Yeah, clearly, she does, right? But effectively, she experiences the same level of scarcity like the average man does. Not when we talk about attention, but when it comes to choosing the right mate. You see, if you actually are a high value man, if you actually ascend yourself, we talk about 20%, top 20%, top 10%, whatever that is. If you ascend yourself to that level, you automatically are scarce. The thing is, if we talk about anything that we can do by to remove the supply or revoke the supply, the thing is, it cannot really be done.
It can,
How?
okay,
What can?
okay, let me amuse you then. Let me amuse you. Okay. So first thing person thinks of when I tell them revoke the supply, like if I just do it, then I'm at disadvantage because
Yeah.
all the girls will now go to the other guys. I would not get laid. I will. So what's the point of revoking? I'm odd one out. But my point is that I'm not saying guys do this, but I'm simply explaining a solution that if this problem is ever fixed, it will fix like this, right? Let me explain. So take for example veganism. Okay, do you think it's easier to be a vegan now, or was it easier back in 1950s? And also, is it easier to be a vegan in a country like US, where let's say you went to a supermarket, there's a whole vegan aisle, there are a lot of alternatives and options, versus when I go to Indian supermarket, I don't see any vegan aisle. I have like limited options. So if I was trying to be a vegan in India, it's more difficult than in US. Similarly, it's easier today than it was in 1950. But how do you think it improved?
It's more about the cultural atmosphere, how much it accepts it in a certain nation.
But do
And
you
I know
think it's
I know
also
where you're getting
no,
at.
wait.
I understand.
But do you think it's about mass adoption as well? Like, like the more people create a demand for something, the more they're supplied, right? So if fewer people, it's called minority influence. I don't want to use technical terms. Like if very few people want something, they're going to have a very difficult time. Nobody's going to supply them with anything. But that if number increases, suddenly the market is created or environment is created where that can sustain. So when I say revoke supply, yes, it is true that if you're a small group of people, one or two guys that pull out right now and try to go the other way, you're at a disadvantage. You will not get the girls, all the other guys will take the girls. But if that group increases, right, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50% men, right, it would affect the other group. Women will no longer have those options. So market would have to adapt. Now, it's a very difficult proposition, but I think from my perspective, it is important to discuss things like this, because once the information goes out to the masses, right, most people change their mind. It's a slow process, right? But eventually, if you repeat something enough times and it reaches enough people, mentality of the people change, just like they do about anything, child marriage, slavery. We were talking about veganism. So there is a probability. Now, I came across this interesting article. Okay, my mouse is not working. Oh, okay, here. So here's an article that had come out. It said, young men reveal why so many of them are single. Dates feel more like job interviews. So all these standards that we're talking about, guys are starting to feel like it's not worth it. It shows that 63% of men under 30 are single, which is up from 51% in 2019, right? It says certain things. Let me see if I have some highlight notes that I can just read out, that will make sense to people. Give me a second. Yeah, I think I've not taken any note, but just to say that, right? Like, I think guys are coming to realize that dating is not a fair game. They're being taken advantage of. They're pulling out more and more. and they feel like women are just dominating and using them for validation. So that's all I was trying to say. Like, I think it's not that unrealistic, that if you slowly start a group and it increases in numbers and they pull out.
See,
Do you think it's
you see, the thing
unrealistic?
is, I understand your example. You used veganism as an example. Veganism is a dietary and lifestyle choice. We could also talk about how we abolished child marriages because it was a sort of evil custom, you might say. But the thing is, when we talk about dating, when we talk about men women romantic interactions, it is one of the most primal urges of both men and women. But let's say we are talking about men ultimately ultimately revoking supply, ultimately pulling out of the market. The thing is, on a very, very small level, men can do it, but there will still be a huge chunk of men who will not really care about it and who will still go for it despite the fact that maybe you have made it the current zeitgeist of the country. Maybe you'll be able to make it completely very, very popular and socially acceptable for men to pull out of the dating market, thereby revoking supply and making the average man scarce. Like right now, he's not being treated well, so maybe if he becomes scarce, then women will be forced to drop their standards, and then things will get better. In a way it was done back then, when the arranged marriages used to be extremely popular and they used to get governed by religious laws, not by the secular laws that we do now. In that time also, the supply was effectively very, very less, effectively zero, because there was no dating culture back then. There used to be arranged marriages, right? That's why we used to see stable families and God knows what. There are numerous debates about choices, there are numerous debates about freedom and all that, but the solution that you suggest seems very hypothetical. It seems like wishful thinking, because
Superficial.
it's one of the very, very primal urges of a man. And no matter how popular you try to make it, the supply shall remain more or less the same. Because right now we are trying to tell men not to simp, right? Not to lose their self-respect, trying to simp in a woman's DMs, not to lose their self-respect, calling a woman dear and beer and God knows what, a woman who does not even know them. We are trying so hard telling men that cheating is not normal. If a woman cheats on you, you're supposed to leave her, not beg her to love you a little bit more than she loved the other guy, right? So we are trying so hard to do it right now. Right now, at least we have the awareness that simping is wrong. Okay, we are talking about pulling out of the dating market, I guess, but at least right now, I think that the country knows that simping is wrong, right? Yet you shall find astronomical number of men who are still simping, and that's why the current dating dynamics which are going on, they shall keep going on. And the problem that I find with this solution of yours is that I don't know, it's my own personal bias, seems kind of socialistic. You see, I, through my own experiences in life, you see, I haven't had, like a king's treatment all my life. But through my own experiences in my life, I have seen that in this world, you have to adjust the way world is. I try not to change the world for myself. I often try to change myself according to the way world is. It's just the way I live. You see, the thing is, if I sit down there and expect other men to listen to me, if I expect other men to come and follow me and make a movement, and someday we are going to make the entire world better, or maybe if I expect the government to come and bring some solution, if I sit around and do that, from the things that I've seen in the past, these things haven't really worked. If it had to work, we would be seeing simping coming down to at least very, very tiny levels, not zero. Even now, the attention economy on Instagram is thriving. Simping is very, very like, it's a demonized thing now. We didn't know what simping was before 2015-16. It became a new word now, right? But even now, attention economy is booming at a rate it hasn't ever been before. Whether you talk about OnlyFans, whether you talk about Instagram models, Instagram has become a soft porn app now. Who's
Yeah.
driving it? Who's driving it? These are the simps. So I find problems in this solution because it is essentially it is essentially wishful thinking. You cannot really tone down a man's own primal urge. The most a man can focus on doing is get him out of that category of the bottom 80% of the men and make himself high value. Like the example you presented, I think it was a meme or a picture that will you be ruining my life, something like that. Some guy was proposing to a woman. Okay, I'm just bringing it up in a way. Yeah, this one. will you destroy my life? And she's like, OMG, yes. This is based on the presumption that his life shall be destroyed. Why are you marrying a woman who will destroy your life? Like I mentioned earlier, before marrying a woman, before proposing to her, you need to be with her for some time. And you need to gauge whether she has certain qualities that will amplify later in the marriage. And no matter how much she tries to hide it, no matter how much she tries to keep it behind a facade, no human is capable of keeping it behind a facade for more than 6 to 7 months. Doesn't matter how good she is. Her emotional side will come out, her real side will come out. And at the same time, you have to kind of use law 3 or law 4, whatever it was, conceal your intentions. You have to make sure that you give her the comfort, you give her the relaxation that she can act the way she wants with you. And the thing is, a woman who is toxic, you cannot teach her to not be toxic. A woman whose standards, let's say a woman says she wants to marry a Korean man. I say to her, amazing, go and marry a Korean man if you have to. I can't really convince her to lower her standards. You see, I can't really convince her. These are certain things that a person chooses for themselves. I can't really convince a man that if you like this woman, maybe you should settle down for someone who is not that good. So this whole narrative of guys trying to somehow convince women that you need to drop your standards and you need to make it easy for everyone else. I wish it was possible. But number one, it sounds extremely socialistic, which as a man, I find problems with. Number two, it is not going to happen because if it was that easy to negotiate attraction, we wouldn't be having so many problems in relationship. It would just be, a little talk would solve everything. Like the average blue pill advice says, just have a conversation. Sit down, have a conversation. Conversation solves everything. So I
Yeah,
wish this
but
whole solution would have been good.
I would
In fact,
actually
not just
say
this,
I'm not
not just this,
actually.
brother, but a lot of things would have been solved if creating a mass consciousness was this easy. But dealing with something as primal as this, while simping shaming has failed, we shamed simps so much. That has failed. And it is happening at such an annoying rate that at times it makes people angry. But if that has failed, I don't really think this is going to work. No matter how much you tell the average man. The thing is, you understand what you're talking about. I understand what I'm talking about. Maybe the chat understands, they understand us, they know what's going on. The thing that you need to realize is most men, they don't really care. They don't really care. The few who do, who I hear, you know about Mano Sharma. I know about Mano Sharma. These people know about Mano Sharma. You know about Atul Subhash. We know about Atul Subhash. We try to talk about him. Doesn't matter how much we talk about him. There will be a lot of men who will be like, okay, oh, this happened. Fine. All right. I don't really blame them. Is their choice whether they wish to keep up with all this. Is their choice the type of news that they wish to follow. But at the same time, I'm coming to that point too. Because it is their choice, really, we can't really put them into, we can't really change their consciousness and make them join another mass movement, especially with this. And what I was coming to was this man who is who's proposing to a woman, will you destroy my life? And the woman is saying, OMG, yes. And then the Venn diagram that you presented, in which the men had zero benefits, and women had princess treatment and God knows what treatment and money and everything, right? The thing is, it is based on a presumption. It is based on a presumption that the man has actually married a woman who does not respect him at all, who has given him zero benefits, because a man can also get prince treatment. I think it is very blue pillish or black pillish to think that men don't get prince treatment from women, that men don't get king treatment from women. It is very blue pillish or black pillish to think that women don't do anything for men. Yeah, they do. Not for the average man though. There are men who enjoy all these benefits which are listed in this Venn diagram on the other side, Venn diagram on the other side, in the women's side. They do enjoy all the other benefits, but yeah, you are right in saying for a lot of men, for the bottom 80% of men, this Venn diagram is the right one. But what can we do about this? Can we skew this data? Can we bring the 80%? Can we bring it like from top 20% to top 40%, or maybe top 45%? I believe that is going against the current course of things. What you can do, which I am completely against, what you can do is you can put cultural shackles on the society, religious shackles, or you could say societal shackles, ban dating altogether, impose strict arranged marriages, one person with only one person all their life because government says it, and if you dare to leave that person, you shall be punished. We can do that. That's the clear-cut solution of this problem, and throughout histories these things were done too. But other than that, other than government getting involved, other than a strict regulation of hypergamous tendencies. Okay, I don't really see a solution in practicality.
So I think I'm a little more optimistic, but I would clarify that I don't think it's a socialist idea, because essentially free market movement and pattern changes are actually more capitalistic in nature.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not free market when you're intervening.
No, but
When
you're
you're
saying
being interventionist,
no,
when you're being
but
free
wait, wait.
market is just let it happen.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
you're intervening through an
No, so what I'm
artificial
saying is
moment,
like choices.
see this to be free market.
Yeah, what I'm saying is
Okay.
like choices change sometimes. Like as an example, we'll move on, right? But I'm trying to explain that it's not socialist, because I think, for example, if you look at YouTube as an example, if you go back 2018, 2019, thumbnails and title used to be clickbaity. They would put something on the thumbnail that is very enticing, inflammatory. People will click the video, watch the entire video. That moment is not even there. Jake Paul used to do that a lot, everybody used to do that. And then audience realized it's frustrating, like, hey, you're just wasting my time. I watched a 12-minute video. What you advertised in the thumbnail is not even there. So somebody identified that gap in the market, and now if you see a pattern, like for example, you go to all of these successful YouTubers today, as an example, Mark Rober, right? So just so people understand, I will demonstrate it a little bit, right? So here, I go to YouTube. I'll go to Mark Rober. Okay. Okay, so these are some of the videos he creates. Like, for example, you see egg drop from space right here, right? Now, the standard after 2019 was that the only people who will become successful in the market are the one that confirm to the viewer that what they have advertised in the thumbnail and the title is in the video within the first 5 seconds. Otherwise, people refuse to watch it anymore. So you look at all the videos now, right? You watch this, if you click it, starts with the thumbnail. Like the egg that is there in the thumbnail is the starting of the video to kind of confirm we're not about to waste time. It is actually there. So all videos look like this now. And what I was trying to say in relation to dating is that sometimes consumer market gets fed up of a certain behavior, and as a result they move the other way, which benefits them the most, right? And that's a capitalistic idea. Hey, I want the most value for myself. Whoever provides that to me, I will go there. So I was trying to just explain there is a possibility that, and as you were seeing in some of the studies here, where guys are realizing that, standards are so high, they feel like dates are like job interviews. They want to move away. It's possible. I understand you think it's really hard, but
I would like to clear it up a bit. I would like to clear it a bit. The thing is, as I mentioned earlier, like I understand you compared it to the changing trends of thumbnails, changing trends of titles. Yeah, certain titles are extremely crazy. They used to be extremely crazy, and then consumers changed their preferences, and then the titles became less clickbaity, or thumbnails became less clickbaity. I understand that that's how the consumer behavior changes depending on the product. Like before, we used to use the CRT TVs. Now we use these, plasma TVs, right? Consumer behavior changes depending on the benefits that they are getting or the lack thereof. If they don't get any benefit out of a product, you see, they simply withdraw, right? I understand, but the problem is it is way, way, way logical. It's extremely logical to put this consumer behavior, which relates to products, in the dating market. You see, the thing is, dating market does work like a market, but not quite like the product market that we are talking about. Dating market is based on some certain things which are extremely primal urges. You see, it's like I know the example is extremely example is extreme, but still, let's take the example. Let's say in the market there is only bread. All right, there's only bread for food. We don't really have anything else, and we decide the bread is extremely stale, man. We need to bring some new stuff. But how are we going to bring new bread? All these people, they keep consuming all this bread. The businessmen are profiting anyway. So if these people keep eating all that stale bread, well, we are not going to benefit out of it anyway. So what we need to do, we need to create a consciousness that enables people to, stop eating bread altogether. The thing is, out of their primary urge to eat, people are not going to listen to us. I know this example is very extreme, but the thing is, on a smaller level, on a way milder level, the urge to associate with the opposite gender in both men and women, in men especially, is so strong that logic flows over their head. You may logically convince them about how they can withdraw their attention, how they can pull back. A few men will listen to you, who will let their logic still stay alive in their brain. But the thing is, the mass population, as I mentioned the example of simping, why do crazy thumbnails get disincentivized? Why do crazy titles get disincentivized and people change their behavior to finally raising the standards and clicking on actual, genuine titles? Why? Because YouTube and YouTube videos are not your primal urge. They're not your primal need. You can live without YouTube if I force you to. You won't start, going crazy, right? You can live without women too. You can live without dating too. See, and you can live without having any sexual release too. That's why it's very very hard. That's why this whole no fap movement, and that's why this whole semen retention movement is considered extremely hard, because what you're doing is you're fighting against an urge which is very very primal. And all these primal urges, what are they fueling? They are fueling the entire porn industry. They are fueling the entire simp economy. They are fueling the entire OnlyFans industry. You see, even thumbnails, you brought up the topic of thumbnails, and you mentioned certain very, very amazing YouTubers. But if you look at some YouTubers, I will not take their names, but you will see they often include certain provocative thumbnails, even though the content has nothing to do with it. But those provocative thumbnails, they bring a lot of views to their channels. You need to understand that when it has to do with urges which happen to be primal, like hunger, thirst, and to a lesser extent, the urge to be with the opposite sex, external regulations or changing the zeitgeist, changing the things which are acceptable or not acceptable, these things may not be as effective as you may think. Because one thing we need to understand is attraction, it is based on primal instincts. You cannot use logic to hack into it. You cannot use logic to somehow turn the things in your favor, turn the tide in your favor. You may do it. Maybe we can form a tiny group that can do it. The masses is going to remain against us. We may withdraw, okay, no problem. The others shall continue to play. So we may withdraw, we can have fun in our own life, but the others shall continue to play. So who'll be the one losing out on this? You
Okay,
get
so
that?
what do you
So
think?
I understand where you're going, but the thing is, it is it is also, in a way, it is like the solution that you suggested. Of course, it seems to be very, very logical, but in application, in practicality, it doesn't work. And the biggest example of that is the shaming of simps. No matter how much you discourage simping, simps shall keep overflowing. Why? Because the same man, you tell him, don't simp. Okay, simping is bad. Simping is against your self-respect. That same man will say yes to you. Yes, yes, sir, no problem. And then he'll go and do the same thing again. You may understand that it's bad. Subscribers may understand. A lot of people may understand. But the thing is, the simps who have to simp, they are going to simp. You cannot convince them. You cannot tell them that it's wrong. Why? Simping is born out of primal instincts. And that is not going to go away. And there are going to be huge economies. What can actually put control to this? Like, if you actually want an example, if you want an actual solution, okay, if you are thinking about solutions, if you're thinking about certain things that can actually stop these primal instincts, which I'm not completely against, which I'm completely against this solution, is government action. Start banning sims, start arresting sims, start making sure that anyone who sims on Facebook or on Instagram, he gets picked up from his house and thrown in jail. Anyone who sims, 20 years to jail. Of course, that's all crazy. That's all hypothetical. But if you want any sort of external, regulation, that's going to be that by fear. How did you could say, dating market, at least in India, the whole dating culture in India is comparatively new. Okay. How did the dating market come into being? The whole dating atmosphere in India come into being? We relaxed the societal rules, right? If you're outside the huge cities, the big cities, the metro cities, it's still hard to date openly. Okay, why is it still hard to date? Society had imposed strict regulations on the meeting of the opposite sexes. Okay, even now there are certain places where, of course, I don't support all that, but there are certain places where you may face disagreement in the best case, disagreement, disapproval from the people, from the woman's parents or from the guy's parents. A few years ago, maybe a few decades ago, maybe a few centuries ago, dating was heavily disincentivized. But how did that happen? Societal shackles, societal action, societal force, governmental action, governmental force, right? The more you relax it, the more the society will go down that social Darwinistic route. The more social barriers you remove, the more and more society will go down that route. You see, and it is up to you, uh, it is up to you whether you support those shackles or not. But if, let's say, we are talking about a solution in this case about how do we stop this crazy cycle of the standards rising up and then men competing amongst each other, that is the only solution. Creating a consciousness out of men in that case, not much possible, and we have seen examples.
Yeah. So let me ask you something. So you mentioned fapping. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think fapping helps, or are you more of a no fap guy? So I know you're against simping. Wait, I know
Yeah.
you're against simping, but so okay, let's put it this way, right? Let's say you went on Instagram tomorrow and nudity and sexualization is banned. Okay, so women are not allowed to put up that content, women and men both. But if you're 18 plus, you can access the usual corn sites. Okay. But talking about just choices as a body, like, I think, are you pro fapping or against fapping? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm neither pro fapping, you see. I don't really support fap. I'm not completely against it either. I just consider it unnecessary. Sex is always better than fapping, you see. So that is what I tell people, that you have all these choices in your life. You're sitting down in your room, you have a choice. You can read a book, or you can watch some podcasts, or you can do some push-ups, or you can just go to sleep. Amongst all these choices, if you also have a choice of fapping, I think it's the worst choice you can make. You see,
Okay.
it's one of the things that I don't really think it brings any positive benefits in your life. And
So
so I don't
let
really against it completely. I discourage it. Yeah.
so let me try to change your mind. I may not be successful, but I'll try to give you an example. And let me know
Yeah.
if
Go
this
ahead.
makes sense to you. Okay. So you said all this nudity, sexualization creates simping problem. However, what if men learn to use their advantages? Okay. Like, for example,
Okay.
and I first want to give a disclaimer. I am not promoting obsessive fapping either. But I do think that dudes should do, like bare minimum. Okay, so like probably 4 days a week, a couple times a week at least, And why would I want guys to do that is because you were talking about scarcity mindset. I think people make the worst decisions when they're desperate and deprived. It makes them dependent on somebody else for their needs, right? So you were just saying sex is better. But if you're dependent on women for sex, then it gives women the power to control you because
Yeah.
it's
If
for
you're
them.
dependent on.
Yeah, for them
Yeah.
to give it to you. But let's just say you don't have sexual needs, you're not dependent on them, you fap. I don't really care if a woman rejects me. Like, my sexual needs are not dependent. Now,
Okay.
what I meant by using things to your advantage, right? I think this whole corn industry is, I agree, it's a predatory market. It's like you identify, a group that has a disadvantage and you try to use it for making money for yourself, right? So let's say there was this fairness creams for women. They would engineer insecurity in women that hey, being dusky and dark is unacceptable, so they would consume their product more out of insecurity, right? And I think similarly there is engineering of this supply demand issue, which make men dependent on women, and then women create a predatory market that okay, we will sell you something that we that you're insecure about or you have a lack of, that we engineered into the society, will sell you at a cost. So I am of a thought process that this whole OnlyFans is kind of predatory, trying to take advantage of guys. But I think guys can get smarter. Corn is free. It's enough of it out there. I don't know how you can monetize that. Just go to the free one, And the same way women go like, okay, since guys make the most money, we're going to take advantage by taking alimony, maintenance, hypergamy. I think guys have some dynamics that are in their favor. There's enough corn out there for free. Just go there, fap, take it to your advantage, and then once you're sexually not dependent on women, you will not need to seek them out. And if you do seek them out, you will not need to drop their standards. You will not need to compromise with red flags. You can go on a date, and if you don't like her, you can come back home, just fap and wait for the right girl to show up, right? Like, do you think it makes sense, or am I just being superficial again?
Okay, very, very logical hypothesis, I would say. But what do you think? All these men who are simping, let's say, on Instagram models' comments, or the men who are simping in real life, or men who are facing bad behavior from women, do you think these men are celibates in real life? Do you think they are not fapping already? Do you think they're not porn addicted already? It's a crazy assumption to make. It's a crazy assumption to make, because if you think that millions of simps who are actually exhibiting this simping behavior, they are celibates, they have this self-restraint to be celibates. If they had that much self-restraint to be celibate, they won't be simping. It's a crazy assumption to make that celibacy is the norm. It is not, my brother. You need to. I mean, I want to ask you. Is this what you? How many men do you think are actually celibates if they are not in relationship? Let's say, how many single men do you think are celibates who are actively practicing celibacy, according to you?
So based on the studies I'm reading, I think we were just going through one.
I'm just asking you, like, chat. Let us know. You guys, let us know how many guys do you know who are actually celibate in their real life and they are single. Are they common or are they rare? You guys, let us know. You also, brother, you tell me from your anecdotal evidence from the people you have met in your life. You must have had friends. You must have seen online forums, whatever. Let's get out of the studies right now. All right, let's talk about our own experiences.
Okay.
So, from your own opinions, do you think celibacy is common, or celibacy is a rare quality? What do you think?
So, if I understand celibacy correctly, it is avoiding sex by choice.
Avoiding ejaculation by choice, right? Avoiding ejaculation. Let's take my meaning of celibacy. Okay, very contextual.
No, but
if you are single, how many celibate singles do you know? I'm talking only about singles. Like, how many celibate singles who are not ejaculating through fapping? That is it. I'm not talking about sex. How many singles do you know who are not ejaculating through fapping? How many of them do you know? Chat, how many of them do you guys know?
No, I think they're rare. Like somebody who doesn't even do fapping, that must be really rare.
Let's say that if they are rare, then at least the guys who form the majority, they do practice fapping to some extent, right? Maybe let's say once a week, in moderation. Even if we take the best case, they practice fapping in moderation, right? And let's talk about the simps. Okay, let's leave the average man out of this. Let's talk about only the simps. What do you think about the simps? Do you think these simps are celibates? Like, of course they're single, that's why they're simping. Do you think they're doing it out of a sexual urge which comes as a consequence of being celibate? Celibate means no ejaculation. Let me make it clear. I'm not talking about no sex. Instead of celibacy, let's call it no fap. All right, no fap. You guys will relate more to it. So do you think these simps are on no fap? That's why they are getting urges, and that's why their simping is being manifested online. Do you think they have that much self-restraint? That's what I'm asking your opinion on. Chat, you also give your opinion on this, like your anecdotal opinions. You don't need to consult any studies. Your own common sense. Use your own brain.
Yeah, so I'm trying to read chat. Moderation is a trap. You trap next 3 to 4 days once you started after. I think he's talking about fapping, like you start and you enter a trap. Let's see what else. Celibacy is rare. It's impractical. Celibacy is rare. Bro, I'm a celibate and I'm single. He got you, Mick. Okay, so
The point what I was pointing at is I understand your point that if men are, let's say, sexually satiated, right? If they are satiated, then they won't be, putting out their dignity just to chase after a woman, right? I would just alter that one word, sexual satiation, with sexual discipline. Okay. The thing is, a man, just because he is sexually satiated through fapping, of course, fapping is extremely different from sex. Taking Just because a man is ejaculating at the end, there are a lot of differences between fapping and sex. We'll get into that later. But the thing is, if we assume that the average man is getting satiated sexually because of fapping, and because of that, his urges would go down, and then he won't put his dignity on the floor to chase after women, to drop his standards. It's a wrong assumption to make. You see, sexual urges. It is said by a very, very famous saint. I'm a little bit confused whether Swami Sivananda said it or whether Swami Paramahansa Yogananda said it. One of these people, they said, it is ever serviced, no, ever serviced, never satisfied, never serviced, ever satisfied. About the sexual urges, he said it. Very profound quote. The thing is, the more they service this urge by fapping, the more they service this urge by fapping, the more dissatisfied they get. If you have ever met an average porn addict, he's so crazy with porn, and it's not just porn. I'm talking also about fapping. He's so crazy with the urge to fap that he often would engage in objectionable behaviors in public to do it. I'm talking about the extreme addicts. But an addict is doing it every day, right? Multiple times a day. So that brings us to the assumption that maybe then he will be too satiated to act in these crazy behaviors, right? He's acting in crazy behaviors in public to satiate himself with his own hand. If you think he won't act in those same behaviors sitting alone at home, simping online, that is a wrong assumption. But it is very logical. I understand your logic. It is logical to think that a satiated man will not chase after women. A man who already has a full belly will not chase after food.
yeah.
But we chase after food because after a certain time, our belly becomes empty. The same thing with sexual urges. So replace sexual satiation with sexual discipline. Use those urges in productive ways, sexual transmutation. Focus on yourself. If you can make yourself into a man who can survive in the dating market, and then you want a sexual release, go into the dating market, have a relationship with a woman or marry a woman, and then get it. That is what I recommend to people. The more you keep satiating it, and you think that because you are satiated, because you are a rational man, maybe you understand things. So not just because you are satiated, but because you have a brain too. Like you, doesn't matter if you practice fapping or not. I won't find you simping for random women online. It's not because you are not fapping. It's not because you are fapping 5 times a day. It is because you have that rationality in your brain that you can let some self-restraint protect your dignity.
So I
Okay?
would
But there is this problem with zero self-restraint present in a lot of men, because of which, even if you like satiate them regularly, it is still going to show up. So satiation is not the answer, discipline is the answer. And sadly, sexual discipline can only be exercised by a few men. It is very, very hard. Those who can do it, very well. Others, they struggle to do it, and some don't care about it at all. You see, but I get your point. I get your logic that, yeah, a man who is satiated will not put his dignity down. I
Yeah.
wish that was possible. I wish that could happen. But what we see, you give it to a man, he wants more. You see, and then the more he gets it, the crazier he gets chasing after it, running after it. Otherwise, we won't even have such big of a corn industry. We won't even have OnlyFans. We won't have, Instagram the way it is today. It is an urge that can never be satisfied. The more you try to satisfy it, the crazier it gets. And the average corn and fapping addict, it relates to it. that the more he satisfies it, the crazier it gets. That's why the only option, like if you have to release it, the better is to find a woman who connects with you, who has a relationship with you, and do it there. Otherwise, if you think you can just satiate yourself with your hand and everything will be okay, for some it will be, but for most, it's a problem.
Yeah, I think I will have concede. I think
I I hope the sound of the firecrackers in the background is not bothering you guys. I'll mute myself because I think it must be.
I think chat can tolerate it. That's fine. I mean, we can definitely hear it. Yeah, so I think I'll have concede for sure on this. I think self-restraint, respecting your dignity, developing boundaries are important. But I think things are somewhat complex in my opinion. I think using fapping as the only contributing factor to simping, I think is a oversimplification. I would say that simping can be a combination of things, right? But I will agree with you on this. Like, so let me put it this way, right? There's an addiction to everything. Okay, so there are people, you know, who drink alcohol get addicted. Others drink it while socializing only. There are examples of other bad habits. There is an addiction spectrum, and versus there are people who control themselves. And I think it's the same way for me in fapping, personally speaking. I actually had sex first and discovered fapping later. I went out dating at age 24. That was my first time, experiencing, and I learned fapping at 25. And since I learned fapping, I was like, I'm good, because I personally felt like I was dependent on women. And like you were saying, right, like, yeah, you can feed your belly, and then tomorrow, a little bit later, it'll get hungry, you need to feed it again. And I felt like I was dependent on women for that. And so my standards were down. And I felt like all the girls that, I'd say all but one, just a random case, if any one of them comes across any clip of mine, they should all think they're the one. But I felt like I was dropping standards, I was settling, and ever since I started fapping, I felt like, okay, there's no dependency, and I've been sitting, I just don't like, it's been 5-6 years for me, and I don't think it's necessary for me to date. Now, I will agree there's a spectrum of PPU. It's called problematic corn use. Right, it's something about 6% of the guys fall into that addiction.
Apologies for interrupting. I need to make one thing clear here.
Sure.
The whole using sex as a means to control, it happens a lot in relationships, and it is way more common than you guys think. Like in marriages, it happens a lot. In India, also, it happens a lot. Sex is used as a carrot and stick strategy. A lot of times, it's used like a dangling reward. You do this, I'll give you this. You do that, I'll give you that. You see, but it can only be used as a dangling carrot in front of you if you let it be used as a dangling carrot in front of you. And that is where, again, sexual discipline comes into play. Let's take my example. Okay, let's say, not my example, any other man's example. Person A. Person A has a wife who is refusing to have sex with him. Person A has a girlfriend who is refusing to have sex with him. Let's not talk about wife, because wife is like too much. He has a girlfriend who is refusing to have sex with him because he's not doing this task or not doing that task, or he's not buying her this gift or that gift. Person A has two choices. Number one, to jump through hoops. Okay, jump through hoops and keep doing whatever she wants, so he can get that reward at the end. Okay, or he has another choice to be like, okay, your standards, no problem. It's your freedom. You keep your freedom. You keep your standards. I'm not ready to do all that. It's fine. No problem. Then I won't have it with you. He has that choice too. The thing is, to term it as sex being used as control is based on the presumption that men do not have free will. Men have the absolute free will to say no to those women who make them jump through hoops for sexual access. You see, whether they exercise this free will or not is up to them. But to make it a fact, a concrete fact that it is being used as a weapon, it is. You see, it is. If you accept it, then yeah, it is. If you decline it, if you say that, yeah, no problem, it doesn't affect me, okay, I'll go my own way, you go your own way. No problem. It's your choice to walk away. It's her choice to walk away. It's her choice to tell her standards to you. If let's say you don't accept it, okay, if let's say you don't accept it, it's your freedom. It's your freedom to walk away and say no. Just like it is her freedom to say that these are the conditions under which I will give you this sort of incentive or benefit. This is her freedom. I'm not asking her to drop down her standards. I'm not asking her to be compelled to do something. No problem. Respectfully, let's goodbye, bye bye. Okay, that is the premise that I'm basing it on, that the man still has the free will. If a man is getting used in this way, that he's running through hoops, he's jumping like a puppy for a woman just because she's offering him at the end, the problem lies with the man a lot, because he can always say no. If he had said no, all these things wouldn't happen. A lot of people will take it as victim blaming. You're blaming the victim. The world is filled with evil people. The world is filled with manipulative people. Congratulations. If you are faced with a manipulator, let's say the manipulator manipulates you, you get exploited. What would I get, or what would you get by me comforting you and sitting there and telling you, oh, so bad, so many bad things were being done to you. I don't blame you, no problem. You be the way you are, no problem. And then the man gets into the same situation again. What I would do, I would just tell him, you went wrong here. You could have walked away from this situation long ago. You could have said no long ago. You didn't choose to say it. That's why you're here. There are men who have taken back cheating girlfriends. What could they have done? They could have just refused to take them back. They took back cheating girlfriends. Cheating happened again. Surprise, surprise. If the man had said, no, I don't want to take you. You see, a snake shall bite. Okay. A snake shall bite. If a woman is toxic, she'll bite. Right? She'll manipulate you. She will cause problems to you. It's your choice to not allow that person in your life. If you're not okay with anything, let's say she likes to play with teddy bears. Okay, I'm giving a ridiculous example. Let's say she likes to play with pink teddy bears, and you only like to see blue teddy bears in your life. It's your freedom. Walk away. It's your freedom. Let her play with whatever teddy she wants, right? But then if you accept it, if you put away your standards, if you put away your own demands just to please her, you have decided your role in this relationship. You have decided your role in the world in general. If you decide your own role like this, then you're going to get treated like this. That is why you need to give yourself more importance. You need to refuse to jump through hoops. You need to refuse to be a dancing monkey. That is your freedom. Her placing the hoops is her freedom, and you refusing to jump through the hoops is your freedom. If I tell you to dance in front of me, if I tell a man to dance in front of me, okay, and then he dances, I'm not threatening him with violence. I'm not saying that if you don't dance, I'll do this, I'll do that. He can walk away. But if I tell him to dance in front of me and he starts dancing, and then he's like, dancing is, he's making me dance, walk away, brother. If I tell you to dance, don't dance. Refuse, just say no to me and walk away. You see where I'm going. So this is a little bit, it's true, yeah, but we have the antidote to sex being used as a form of control. We have the antidote. We can just say no. And why are we not being able to say no? Do you think it's because of a lot of men practicing nofap? I don't really think so. And the thing you said is placing simping on the premise of like nofap or celibacy is wrong. Nobody really placed it on that premise. I think it came out of some other argument. The thing is, sexual satiation we were talking about, that if men are satiated, they won't engage in these simping behaviors. The more they engage in self-satiation, the more you will see these weird behaviors coming out.
Okay.
You see, the thing is, men do not control themselves because they have killed their desires. Men control themselves because they learn to restrain and control their desires. I control my anger not because I feel anger, okay? Not because I don't feel anger. I control my anger because I have learned to keep it under restraint. If I let it flow out freely, I would look like a clown, okay? Any man who lets his anger flow out freely, yelling and shouting, he'll look like a clown. But he feels it, he keeps it under control. Same thing with sexual urges. Same thing with your sadness, whatever emotion you want to keep in check. You want to keep your happiness in check, okay, you can keep that too. But it doesn't mean that you don't feel it. You feel it. You may feel it a lot. But exercising restraint over it and using that energy that you get, that extra energy, into productive pursuits, you can get a lot of benefits. To satiate that extra energy and to think that now I'm satisfied, no problem, things will be better, I won't be running after women. For you, it is true. I get that because you told me your story. It's true because you understand it. You are a sensible guy. You understand things deeply. You analyze the entire social dynamics, right? In your experience, even if you stop fapping completely, you would still act the same. It's not like you'll be running after random women online
Yeah.
because you are you. But
Yeah.
if you think that just because you are exercising so much self restraint on yourself, everyone else will be, it is way too much wishful thinking, I believe. Because I have tried what you are saying, what you are saying, I have tried using wishful thinking many times before. I have had my own experience with propagating this whole idea of things should be this way, things should be that way. And at the end, let's say, now I'm not surprised.
Hmm.
So go ahead, go ahead.
So talking about people who say no. So first of all, guys, everybody who's watching, if you're enjoying the stream, subscribe. Go to Goldclad's channels. His handle for YouTube is on the screen. It's Goldclad Warrior. If you want to see more of him, he covers more of the content related to men, manipulation, men's rights, combination of things. And if you're interested in watching him more, just go to his channel. It's Goldclad Warrior. Subscribe over there. Okay, so Goldclad. So talking about people who say no. Okay, so I actually heard about this story, and this is the time for me to glaze myself. Okay, and I will tell you the story. Okay, so Abhay Deol, this is an actor, right? This article has come out March 6th. Now, he said he has experienced violence and in relationships in the past. A lot of this article also talks about he had emotional abuse. And then he said, I'd rather be single than miserable. He chose against marriage, right? So he said no. But there's something more to the story, right? But before I tell you what's more to the story, I think it's time for me. Guys, who was watching the stream? 1 or 2 weeks ago when we talked about Manav Sharma? And in the end of that stream, for the last 5-6 minutes, I was talking to the stream about, whether dating relationships are worth it or not, whether it is better to be lonely or make compromises. And I said something that matches what Abhay says so much that I think he may be a viewer. What are the chances of that? So just for purposes of irony, right? Let me show you what I'm talking about. And then we'll discuss who's this woman that Abhay is talking about and what could have been possible issues that led him to make the statement he made, right? So give me a second. I'll just switch the account. Manav Sharma's death. Okay, so this was our stream 1 week ago, and at 2:53 timestamp, in the end, I want you guys to listen to what was said. There's a to be low risk, right? Or would Goldclad, I'm gonna share the audio with you. I think you won't be able to hear it. There we go. Would you like to have a wife that sucks? There's a risk, right? That sucks everything you have, including your peace of mind, and makes it difficult for you to live any further. Would you prefer to be lonely or would you prefer to be miserable? Would you prefer to be lonely or would you prefer to be miserable? Guess who else said that. I prefer to be lonely. So we'll go
I said
back
this.
to this article. Okay, where is it?
You should rather be lonely than miserable. This is
Yeah.
what my entire point
Cat,
is.
do I feel vindicated or what? Abhay Deol says, talking about his idea of marriage. In nature, you love, you don't love. No one is judging you for having more than one partner, or you can partner up and stay with that partner for life. You can end up single and finding your own self because you're able to be by yourself and know who you are. His last line is, I'd rather be single and lonely than coupled up and miserable. So,
Yeah, that's what every man should feel. Rather be single and lonely, not just when it comes to relationships, but even when it comes to friends. Be single, be alone and be happy. Than be with people or be in a relationship or be married and then be miserable. Nothing is
but
worse than that.
But Goldclad, what are the chances Abhay Deol watches our stream? Like he's one of the 9 viewers that I had.
Let's
Because
let's
he could have said that 100 different
yeah.
ways, but he chose verbatim, word to word, the same sentence. No, I'm obviously
I will
joking, right? I'm obviously joking.
actually, you see, I wish these Bollywood actors they watch us. I don't know. I'm not that important, but still, by the flip chance, someone's clicking on YouTube by mistake, he clicks on the thumbnail. I really wish they start watching our channel because, contrary to popular belief, I need to clear something up for the guys. You see, when you are in that life, especially not for the actors who are outsiders, but for those who are like so-called nepotism kids who have grown up in that life of luxury and glamour, they are the ones who are going to stay far, far away from content like this. Who comes to this content? A man finds this content in a moment of misery, in a moment of loneliness, in a moment when he feels like there is no one to listen to him, there is no one running behind him. You see, an actor, a Bollywood hero, he has so many people running behind him, both men and women, and he has a level of life that we can only imagine. Okay, we don't have any idea the type of life that they live, especially the nepotism kid, the so-called nepotism kid. So for them, it is highly unlikely for them to come across this content. This is something that we need to understand. The rich people, the extremely powerful people, the celebs especially, the celebrities. This is the reason why when you watch all these reality shows, many of these celebs they genuinely act. They are like 40-year-old men, 35-year-old men, but they act very juvenile. They act very teenage, in a teenage way. They yell, they scream, and they cry. All right, it looks like they have no restraint on their emotions. Why? Because they have never really had to build a need to change their behavior, to change the way they are dealing with stuff. We are watching this content. You are watching all that content. I'm watching all that content. Our subscribers are watching this content because we really had a way different life than, let's say, Abhay Deol lived. Okay, the life that Deol lived, we seldom experience it. Hopefully, all of us will experience it one day. Okay, best wishes for everyone,
So,
and a life better than that.
so let me ask you
So
this.
yeah,
Um, so some people said no. He said no based on his experiences, right?
Hmm.
I know Ram Gopal Varma did. Salman
yeah.
Khan, that Salman was on this show. He has a court set up, and they asked him, "Do you love children?" He's like, "I love children a lot, but with children comes the mother, and I don't want the mother." Right. So there are some dudes who are smart about this, right? And they'll learn it early on that hey, peace of mind is the most important thing. Freedom is
Yeah.
the most important thing. Happiness leads from freedom, and it's better to be lonely. Make some compromises if you're making regarding your emotional, sexual needs or having children, than to become a slave for the entire life with no escape, right? They understand that, like, you're being abused every day, you have no control over the situation. But in Abe's case, a lot of people were thinking, like, who is he talking about, right? Like, and why does he have the mentality he has? So I actually went up and looked up his previous relationships, right? And I came across something that I think I know what the issue is, and I'd like you to take a look at this. So I came across this interview. He did a movie called 1 by 2, okay, and he did that movie with his then girlfriend, who he was in a relationship with for 6 years. He was the producer and the actor. So he produced the movie and he put in his own money in it, right? And the actress was his girlfriend. Now, I came across this interview. Funnily enough, if you look here at the bottom, there's only one comment here. It's from 11 years ago. It says, Abhay comes across as a stand-up guy, but something seems off with that girl he's with. And this comment is 1 month ago. I don't know, what is the odd chance that this guy left it here? And I was like, what is he talking about? What is off with that girl? So I watched the entire interview, and I would like you to take a look at what's going on, and you try to tell me, if it explains a lot about why he felt the way he felt, right? So I found something interesting. So let me see what timestamp it is, and then I'm gonna show you guys what's happening in this video. Where is it? Give me a sec. Okay, 9:30. Let me share my screen again. Okay, so I have the entire storyline. So first we'll listen to the video, and then I will add one more thing to it as to what I can find, what has happened here, right? And then you let me know what you think about this. Okay, so what was the timestamp again? It was 9:30. Okay, 9:30. So very normal interview. Actress, actor, producer, they're all just doing a very normal interview until 9:30, guys. And watch what happens.
You really can't compete with the Jai Ho. So
Exactly. I mean, that's...
let's just appeal to that audience that would watch a film like this.
Preeti, what was the toughest part of shooting this film?
The toughest part?
Yeah. Other than
Shooting?
working with Abhay.
I think... I think...
Packing my khana every day.
Oh, so sweet.
I
Aji,
think...
sunte ho?
She used to carry a...
I don't know if you can see it, or should I zoom her face into you, but she's really upset.
Aji, sunte ho?
Yeah. And you also hear this a nervous wife coming from her, this fake wife coming from her that she's putting
Yeah.
on an act.
Yeah. No. Watch further. Watch further. How mad she gets. How much she
Carry a
gets.
dabba to work.
I think...
Aji, sunte ho?
She used to carry a dabba to
answer?
work.
No, I didn't. No, I
Aapka
think...
tiffin लाई हूँ. Okay, fine. Now I keep quiet.
See?
See how easy it was for her to work?
Okay.
Anyways. No, shoot
Yeah.
was like... whoosh.
Yeah.
It went so quick. It was the prep.
So we'll go to
Before that,
12:23. One more timestamp here.
The money's going to a lot of support from music, royalty.
What's his empire worth? Hi, nice to meet you.
Gee.
Abhay, the way you backed the entire that, music royalty rights was...
So let me explain really quickly. So it seemed like she was offended by what he said, right? He said, the interviewer was asking, what is the one thing that upsets you about Abhay? And he starts joking. It's just lightheaded humor, right? Like her packing my lunch or making food for me, like the kitchen joke. Oh, it's so misogynistic. So she gets really upset, starts staring at him, and
Yeah.
right? But then just 2 minutes later, right? Look what she says to him now. Okay, so like if stereotypes are so bad that women get so offended, watch what she's doing now.
Was great. You got a lot of support from the industry, and your black eye metaphor also worked. Tell us about that.
So context, what they're talking about. Now the interviewer is asking Abhay that you did a stunt in the media about having a black eye. He did that because music industry often exploits its artists by taking unfair cuts, right? So his movie had some artists that had some conflict in the industry. So he staged a marketing idea to kind of do a black eye to represent them, and it went viral. So she's asking about that.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Gee.
Abhay, the way you backed the entire that, music royalty rights was great. You got a lot of support from the industry, and your black eye metaphor also worked. Tell us about that. How do you think of doing that? It really was interesting, I must say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a very creative way to protest.
I give him the black eye.
I gave him the black eye. So now,
So funny. So witty. Wow. Yes, queen.
So I personally, guys, just to be honest, right? I don't have a problem. I don't think this is an issue, but all I'm saying is that if little things like, hey, you packed my lunch, is so offensive that she stops the interview, starts giving him a stare, insulting him, then I think little things like this should also be taken issue with. It's a little bit of hypocrisy. But what is the main reason that Abhay felt that the relationship was toxic? I feel is because a little bit. This interview continues a little bit more, and it just here for 30 more seconds, and I'll tell you what exactly may have happened.
Yeah,
Was it her idea?
She punched me.
It was my idea. I punched him and gave him it.
Actually, it was a friend's idea,
Really?
to be honest.
Okay.
I've done this before for a magazine cover. Maybe he got it from there.
Okay.
But basically, he's a good friend of mine, and he was like, I was getting ready, and he knew what was going on. So he says, wait, why don't you paint your eye black and go? And it took me exactly 2 seconds to say, yeah.
Yes to it?
Huh?
2 seconds to say yes to it.
Yeah. I was like, that's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? And he's like, that's why I told you, because I knew you'd go for it. And she was like, no, don't do it. I'm like, no, that's the best way to do it.
Oh.
So
I'm just thinking, why my movie?
I'm just
Why does
thinking the
his-
same thing. Why move?
Why?
Yeah, why my movie? Okay, just a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing I was thinking, except you were thinking from a different perspective, and I was thinking from a completely different
but
perspective.
I don't know all the inside stuff that's going on now. Also,
But you knew that the music album hadn't released, and we were on the 14th of Jan.
Yeah.
And
So looks like they're having conflict about the decisions that he's making as a producer, and she's getting affected as an actress.
that Bollywood thrives on the marketing of music, right?
Yeah.
So then there you go. Here we are, 2.5 weeks away from release, and there's
Right. So in the end, Goldclad. So this is what I found. Okay, there is an article from just I think probably 1 year after, not even that, maybe the same year. The movie 1x2, the one that they're talking about, flopped, right? And Abhay Deol mortgages Juhu flat after film tanks at box office. And he had huge losses from that movie. He had invested around 8 crores. The property was worth 3 to 4 crores. So he ended up having to sell his own house. Just exactly after that, this actress who was in a 6-year relationship also broke up with him. Or, I don't know, they mutually decided to walk apart. So what does this case really look like when he says, that it's better to be alone, single and miserable, be single than miserable? I think what he's talking about, the fact that, I think they had a very toxic relationship in the sense that he's taking certain decisions, but she ends up blaming it on him. I think there may be do you think there's a hypergamy part where, hey, if you're succeeding as a man, we are attached to you, but when in your failures, like she ended up breaking up and moving on, putting the entire blame on him, right? But at the end of the day, I think as a producer, any money that was lost, he took the biggest risk. He took the biggest losses. But for a dude to come home after all of that, and for your partner or your girlfriend to apply salt to your injury and then say, hey, you also ruined my career by making me act in your movie, things like that, right? Do you think there is an angle of that, hey, your successes are my successes, is what Kajol was saying earlier. We were doing stuff, right? Like, your money is my money, what's yours is mine, what's mine and mine. So your success is mine, but your failures are yours to keep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cruel reality for a lot of men. So maybe, one of these experiences, maybe this woman and maybe other women like these, they must have contributed to Abhay Deol coming up with a statement like this. What I noticed in that interview was that he did seem to be walking around some eggshells when it came to with those remarks at his girlfriends, like pack my lunch or pack my food, stuff like that, and the way she reacted over that remark. So this is something that we saw in that interview of a few minutes, right? We can only guess what was happening behind the scenes, because if you see some behaviors being exhibited on screen, always have the assumption that they're at least, a few times fold behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, something even crazier is happening. So if you see a man trying to walk on eggshells because he's a little bit afraid of the woman getting offended, believe me that certain things are happening in the background that we are not seeing that must have made the man feel this way. And if she is reacting in this belligerent manner, in this borderline belligerent manner, in front of the camera, then we can only guess how aggressive her reaction would have been behind the scenes. So yeah, I could certainly tell that these experiences have contributed to him coming up with a statement like this. When you fail, your losses are only yours. But when you succeed, she's behind you. You know, behind every successful woman, no, behind every successful man is a woman. So now she's with you. She's enjoying the fruits of your labor with you. But in case you go down, you lose everything. You lose her too.
Yeah, and I remember we did a study, not a study, we did a stream, and I was trying to show my audience, I think this was Drew Ruddy's stream, where these studies were very conclusive. Like they said that, women choose men based on their assets and income, and like it's like they shop horizontal and up. And so if men make less money than them, right, the more the gap, the higher the risk of them not choosing you. And if they have married you and you're losing wealth, then they're more likely to divorce the more your income drops in comparison to women. And then interesting, and this was like amazing, like they took even a lottery like a survey of lottery winners, right, like of the people who have won the lottery. How many men exit the marriages after that versus how many women exit the marriages. Women, after they win a jackpot, they exit the marriage immediately, way more than men. So wouldn't that mean that women are only marrying you for monetary gain, where guys think it's about love, children, family, women think it's about monetary gain, right? So they're
So the thing is, it depends what you're putting forward. If you're putting forward your money as the best quality about yourself, you will attract women for whom you are only a cash cow. And this is my problem with this whole narrative. Women are running after assets, running after money, because the thing is, they may be spread around to spread awareness against gold diggers, but a lot of guys take it in a way that, okay, if I want to have a woman love me, if I want to have a woman be attracted to me, what I need to do is I need to market myself as someone with resources, with a lot of money. I need to market my wealth. I need to market my monthly salary. And what ends up happening is they end up putting all their points in their money, in their career, in their wealth, and no points in anything else. And what they end up becoming is what they absolutely wanted to escape from: a cash cow who never gets valued. This is at a very smaller level. I mean, Abhay Deol is at completely different level. But at a very tiny level, I often talk to men. I often tell them that if you do not have a woman by your side when you are not financially, I'm only talking about finances. When you're not financially successful, if you don't have her by your side, and then suddenly women start appearing in your life after you start making money through jobs, through getting a government job, and all these aims that you have, you can't really ascertain with complete certainty that she is after you and not after your money. Then it becomes uncertain. You see, if you have a relationship with a woman, if you have a girlfriend who has been with you when you were nothing, but you had other qualities, you were like physically you were okay, socially you were great at handling her tests, you were great at handling chaos that came into your life. The only thing which was missing was money. This is an important point. The only thing which was missing was money. That situation is different. But for a man who saw no prospects, no romantic prospects before, and suddenly started seeing romantic prospects after he started making money, he needs to be extremely careful, because now he cannot be sure whether that woman is coming to him for his money or whether that woman is coming to him for his other qualities, which are irreplaceable. I need to mention one thing very, very important here. Let's say she is coming to you for money. Okay, there could have been an option for you to still let her be with you for your money, and she would have never left you. Okay, if the situation was that by leaving you, she won't get your money anymore. Okay, let's say you are making a lot of money, brother. You're making millions of dollars a month. And by living with you, I can enjoy your money too. I can get the benefits. You will drive me around Las Vegas in your expensive cars. All right, I get all those benefits because I'm your roommate. Let's say I decide to leave your room. I decide to, I'll find another room. I'll stay somewhere else. But the stipulation is now I won't be able to enjoy the proceeds of your money. Do you think I'll leave your room? Like if I'm of that type, if I like your money, I won't leave your room. But let's say now we will bring a provision. The government will make sure, even when I leave your room, a portion of your hard earned money will be given to me. Anyway, you can't say no to it. You'll be forced to give it to me anyway. Do I really have any obligation of staying with you? No. Money can be taken away from you. Your own hard earned money shall be taken away from you. The provisions exist. Sadly, they do. What cannot be taken away from you? You. What cannot be taken away from you? Your own personality, your own confidence, your own toughness, mental toughness. Let's say she finds a man let's say she's in love with you, and then you start making some money. Let's say you start making 10,000 rupees per month. Okay, let's example. Then she finds a man who earns 15,000 rupees per month, but he does earn more money than you. But when it comes to all the other aspects, he is nothing in front of you. She still won't go to him because let's say she gets more money by being with that guy for those 5,000 extra rupees, or even if we let's say make it 1 lakh rupees per month. For those rupees, she's going to lose all the other qualities that you had, because the government will not rip away your body and give it to her. The government will not rip away your head and give it to her, that yes, you can keep his head too, you can keep looking at him, you can keep talking to him. We will force you, we will force him to keep talking to you. You see, this is the huge problem with the guys who like go with this narrative that women are running after money and I should make myself a financial prospect to make her come after me. And that is why I give them an advice. Let's say you're making a lot of money every single month, you're very wealthy. Even then, if you're interacting with a woman, if you're dating a woman, do not talk about your money. If she's asking you what do you do, say something vague. Say something vague like I play guitar. I am a part of a band. Say something vague. I sell bananas. I say I sell bananas. Say something vague. Be very very like, don't take it seriously. If you mention the lakhs of money that you're making every month, now you have put yourself in ambiguous territory, in uncertain waters. Now, even if she does get attracted to you, even if she does run after you have no way of making sure whether she's running after you or running after your money. There is absolutely no way of making sure unless she, through her behavior, makes it clearly apparent by asking repeatedly about your money, by asking repeatedly about your assets. Only then, even then, you can only speculate, right? But let's say you have not made clear to her about your career, about the amount of money you're making. And for a lot of guys, they will now say, if you don't tell her about your money, she won't even talk to you. Well, if you think that way, then I can't really help you, bro. But if you are actually following this strategy, meeting a woman, not talking about your money, talking about everything else but your money, you shall stay safe. Then if she gets attracted to you, then she's not coming after your money. Even then, you should reveal your finances way later in your life, after like 1 year of dating her, when you're completely sure about her that she is not one of those gold diggers. Problem is to paint all women as gold diggers, not because I'm a moral crusader and I'm saying that it's offensive or no, it's because it is logically incoherent. It's logically inconsistent with the facts. I understand. I explained it in one of my recent videos. Yeah, resources are alpha. You need to gather resources to be alpha, to be attractive. It used to be that way because in the caveman times, the procedure which was required to gather resources, it automatically brought up all the other qualities in you as well.
Yeah.
Like at that time, you would not see the king of the tribe with all the meat, all the fruits, and all the wood having social anxiety. He has everything. He has killed animals. He has killed rival tribes. But yeah, he can't talk to people. His legs shake when he's trying to talk to people. Today, you can have money while having all zero other qualities. You can have money, yeah. While at the same time, you can be completely zero in other aspects. What has happened now is a process that used to be comprehensive back then, which as a side effect produced all the other attractive qualities in the man, is now isolated. And now you are treating wealth making, resource acquisition as a different venture then and you have to like work on other aspects like gym and socializing and all the other things separately. If you don't do that, then a very, very crazy thing will happen, in which by default, if since you, let's say you get a job, let's say you get a government job, and magically all the women start appearing in your life, and you are under the delusion that they're coming for me, then don't be surprised when adverse things happen to you in future, because then you will never be valued for who you are. Okay, that's why you need to read the room. And for guys who actually believe, like guys are watching this, who actually believe that if I don't have money, if I don't market my money, if I don't flaunt my money, she will not come to me. Don't let her come to you, brother. Let her go away. Tell her you're poor. Let her go away. It is way better than her coming to you impressed with your money and then destroying you anyway at the end. There are avenues, plenty of avenues.
Yeah, true. I think that's about the best advice you can get in dating. So, Goldclad, I think we'll move to our final, almost final event. This is where we talk about real hypocrisy.
Yeah.
So yesterday was Women's Day, right? A lot of people try to do a lot of things for women. So there are so many headlines. So chat, when we started, we showed you this article where, media feels threatened by the rise of menfluencers like us. They feel like we're radicalizing men. We're making them distrust feminism. We're making them misogynistic. That's what they think, right? And we should be shut down. These articles are being flushed all throughout. Now, I think what I want you guys to think about is that, is there over policing of men? Like guys like us can just come here, talk about our ideas, have some influence over men. Society feels like they're losing control of their slaves. But on the other hand, we had Women's Day yesterday, and women's spaces empower women kind of like this, okay? Read this statement. It says, allow women to commit one murder without punishment. NCP SP leader, this is a women's wing leader, Rohini Katse, writes to president. Okay, so here we are. At one hand, on Women's Day, women's safety are government's top priority. We made strict laws to prevent crimes against them. Then we have on Women's Day, Delhi government approves big welfare scheme, gives them free money, 2,500 per woman, right? So we're talking all about this safety. Meanwhile, at the same time, a women's wing leader from NCP is talking about taking away men's safety by asking to allow them to commit one murder without punishment. Now, you try to tell me, chat, that who here really, where's my math meme? Wait 1 second. Who needs policing? Is it guys like us? Or is it powerful politicians, women's organizations like this? So, Goldclad. So, full context, right? I think I just want people to know what she's saying here. So, 2 days ago, I think there was a news come out. I don't know where it was from, but it was going viral. It's like somewhere an Israeli tourist in India got gang taped, let me say that just in case YouTube identifies it. And the male members were pushed into the canal. So she's giving this statement in relation to that, and she says every woman should have a permission to commit one murder to reduce the amount of rapes and increase women's safety. Do you see a pattern of incitement here? Now, I don't know how many of you are history buffs, but I happen to read supremacist history, right? Like whether you go back to Nazi Germany or you go back to white supremacy, Reconstruction era, or slavery. Now, guess what this woman has in common with KKK. KKK used the propaganda that black men are basically rapists, and in order to protect white women from corrupt races like this who want to grape them, they wanted to do they wanted to have death penalty for grape and woman's testimony to be taken as the only evidence, and to conduct lynchings and murders and extrajudicial trials. So there was a movie that was released called The Birth of a Nation in 1915 when KKK was really powerful. And this movie was played in the White House by Woodrow Wilson, because back then racist sentiments were really popular, and that's the only way you could get votes, right? The same way they say things like this because women give them votes. It gets them in power. Back then, if you appeal to white supremacists, they gave you votes, you became a president. So they screened this movie. And if you watch this movie, and especially this scene, it portrays that black man here is trying to grape a white woman, right? And it goes on and on. See, she's crying. He's following her. You know, he's a total demon. She's asking for help. Right, and if you go a little bit further, here comes a white hero, right? And then she jumps off into the ditch. I'm skipping fast, right? So we can see what's happening. Now she'll jump into a ditch. Okay, so she died. Now here comes the white guy. The rest of the movie I'll just describe to you. What happens is that he creates a KKK alliance, and this propaganda was even published in the newspapers a lot, that white boys, young boys, should volunteer to become white knights to protect the honor of white women by committing violence and acts of murder against black people because they're a corrupt race. Now, I don't know how much time we have. I'll probably skip through it, but there was a case about Scottsboro boys, right? Maybe I'll explain some other day. But in short, what happened to Scottsboro boys is exactly what's portrayed in the movie. Okay, so what they do to them is this is a story where 8 black boys were traveling in a freight train, and there were some white dudes. They get into a conflict with each other, right? And black dudes basically, defend themselves, and white dudes flee. They flee, they go to the station master, and they tell the station master that these guys were committing acts of violence. So station master pulls up the freight train. There were 2 white women in there as well. And the white women, when asked, they say, these black guys graped me. Okay, that's all they needed for evidence. And right, so I'll show the full story some other time. But as soon as they heard that, they arrested the guys. A medical examiner found no evidence of any sexual intercourse, but they continued the trial. Grand jury charged them. They set up a jury of all white people. They convicted them without evidence. It went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said it's a mistrial. Do it again. Okay, so it goes back to do it again. In the second trial, the women withdraw their statement. They're like, no, we just made it up. It never happened. So there is now there is no medical evidence. Even the testimony has been withdrawn. Guess what happens? They set up a jury. They convict them again. Without any evidence. Goes to Supreme Court again. Supreme Court orders a third trial, and they ask to have at least 1 black jury in the set, right? And they still convict them. So what am I trying to say, right? I'm trying to say that it's not the first time that grape is used as an act of incitement and violence. Do you think men are the new black today, right? The same propaganda, hey, they grape us, we should be allowed to murder them, we should be allowed to convict them without any evidence. And before you give your opinion, if anybody has any doubt on what I'm saying, so I'll just take you through, let's see if I can find this. So I'll take you through NAACP, which is National Association of Colored People. History of lynching in America. Okay, everybody can see my screen. This is the NAACP website. A lynching is a public killing of an individual who has not received any due process. These executions were often carried out by lawless mobs, though police officers did participate under the pretext of justice. Lynchings were violent public acts that white people used to terrorize and control black people in the 19th and 20th centuries. Particularly in South, lynchings typically evoke images of black men and women hanging from trees, but they involved other extreme brutality such as torture, mutilation, decapitation, desecration. Some victims were burned alive. Now, interesting part is, it says right here, allegations behind lynchings, okay? White mobs often used dubious criminal accusations to justify lynchings. A common claim used to lynch black men was perceived sexual transgression against white women. Charges of rape were routinely fabricated. These allegations were then used to enforce segregation and advanced stereotypes of black men as violent, hypersexual aggressors. So, how different is all of this, oppression, racism, stereotypes, violence that white supremacists did against black people, that the same is being recommended by women's wing against Indian men, and we are all watching it happen, yet the media feels like the ones that require policing are manfluencers when national politicians make statements like this on Women's Day. So, Goldclad, what are your thoughts on all of this? Do we have selective policing in society today?
It's interesting you gave an example of the KKK to reflect that one of this woman's statement that we are talking about today. The woman happens to be saying a statement which is far left. KKK used to be far right. It's interesting how we have come full circle with this. Both of them acting the same way. But interestingly, I would hold a different viewpoint. You see, KKK's activities, they came out of an ideology which was supremacist. Whether you talk about the KKK, whether you talk about the certain regime in Germany in the 1940s, whether you talk about the Ustashas, whether you talk about the Chetniks, their ideology came out of supremacy and a sort of dominating tendencies or another racial group or another ethnic group or another linguistic group, depending on the place. Okay, this ideology that you see today, it is more of an ideology coming out of insecurity complex, inferiority complex, not superiority. No, it's not a supremacist ideology. It's more of a inferiority complex, taking a violent manifestation, I would say. This woman saying that please give us a chance, please give us the freedom to commit one deletion, the way she's saying it. The thing is, I don't really see it the same way as KKK used to operate or as other far right regimes used to operate, because they were based on superiority. Here it is based on inferiority. And the thing is, inferiority as in not because they are inferior, they feel inferior. And that is why to relieve their inferiority, they need to rebel. And this is way better example, not of a far right regime, but of a far left Marxist regime. That's why I always bring up the term cultural Marxism. Men are not the new black people. Indian men are not the new black people. We are the bourgeoisie. Okay. And the women, they are the working class. They are the proletariat, if we have to term it in the ideological manner. And what is being done is this narrative, this extreme far left narrative. And I often talk about this in my videos. I think I talk about this a lot, that you need to understand the way feminism is being propagated in India, whether you see it in the media, whether you see it in popular culture, it is a very, very aggressive type of feminism. This feminism is not only causing relationship problems or promiscuity, whatever. This feminism is causing actual violent and aggressive tendencies in women who are being brainwashed to believe that men are the enemy. Which men? Not the terrorists, not the criminals, not the insurgents in particular. Which man? The man inside their own families, like we saw in the example of the Mrs. movie. That movie showed your husband, your in-laws, everything, and tiny things, very, very tiny things were shown as huge symbols of oppression. This is far left brainwashing, actually. Far left brainwashing arises out of inferiority complex. Whether you talk about communist revolutions, like the revolution in Russia, which happened against the Tsarist regime. It was a revolution of the so-called working class against the ruling class, against the monarchy, against the Romanovs, right? It's another thing that it was a sweet, sweet sounding thing that working class is rebelling against the monarchy. Workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. At the end of the day, one king was replaced by the other, right? De facto. I mean, de jure, you could say anything else, but in reality, one king was replaced by the other. All right. One monarch by another monarch, the system changed. You call it communist, you call it Soviet, whatever. Same thing with any sort of leftist themed revolution. Wherever it happens, it arises out of a sense of insecurity being sown into someone that you are being oppressed and this person is the oppressor. This person has the privilege that you don't have. What you need to do is you need to violently overthrow that strata of society and take the privilege for yourself.
But
In the
let
previous
me give you
workers,
a counter.
let me finish. The example of KKK and the black people does not really fit here that much, is because the narrative of one group being plentiful and abundant and privileged, it did not exist. The KKK did not say that the black people are privileged and plentiful and we need to take the benefit because they are unfairly advantaged in society. They just considered them inferior. They are inferior creatures. Okay. Far right ideologies are supremacists because they believe we are superior. And of course, there are many women who may say here in India that we are superior to men and men are inferior creatures. Yeah, those are individual cases, but I'm talking about this whole expression of this entire movement which is happening right now, this violent expression of feminist ideology which is happening, which makes it okay to talk about punching women, to talk about deleting men, to talk about punching men, to talk about deleting men, to talk about insulting men and humiliating them and abusing them, and makes it funny. This is more of a far left ideology than far right. It arises not out of a supremacist feeling. It arises out of an insecurity feeling that I'm insecure because of this group, because this group has pressed me down. And if I rebel against this group, then I will, reach some sort of parity with this group. Of course, all these are just narratives, just opium fed to these people. Because how privileged are you? How privileged is the average man? I understand the patriarchy narrative. What privilege are you in enjoying in your life? Are you being treated like a king? Is anyone in the chat being treated like a king? No, we are not swimming in wealth, right? We are not walking into the city on elephants and the entire population of women is welcoming us. Here come the bourgeoisie of the society, come here. No. It's like you need to understand, every person faces some problems in his life. And yeah, I agree. As men, our problems are different. As women, their problems are different, and they may face problems which are completely different than ours. Maybe we don't even see them, and they don't see ours. Okay. But let's say I convince them that your problems are happening because of this certain group of people based on their gender, who, because of their very existence and because of the way they live right now, are causing your miserable state. And the thing is, one more thing. You mentioned the grapes, right? And the recent case which happened. The recent case which happened and cases like these that happen, they also show us a very, very good example of this very, very far left brainwashing. Take the crime committed by a certain scumbags of society. Take the crime committed by a certain scumbags of society and put the responsibility of the crime on the gender as a whole. Socialization of the burden of crime, of the guilt, socialization of the guilt. That is why you would see, as a man, you must have never ever misbehaved with anyone, be it man or a woman. But you'll find women telling you, you need to change your mindset, you need to change this, you need to change that, because somewhere over there, some scumbags did this with a woman. Okay.
Yeah, so it's
what they do is they socialize the guilt.
So it's like collective guilt. That's kind of like a stereotype. But let me give you like additional narrative. Okay, so I know what you're saying, right? Like in the KKK case, they felt that black race was inferior and they wanted to dominate them. That factor does not apply here because women use inferiority as a reason to say the same things that they say. But again, I think the part that I was comparing is demonization, right? There's a thing called hypoagency. Okay, if you look at, for example, Hypoagency, I'll just show you the definition. It's basically using somebody's let me see if it's defined correctly so I'm not making a fool of myself. Yeah, okay, it is correct, right? An attempt, often a woman, to make oneself look weak in order to manipulate someone else, usually a man, into doing something for their agency, right?
Yeah.
So what it basically means is that if you want control and domination, you describe yourself as weak and, use that in return to gain control over the other person. That's basically hypoagency. But on top of that, I think a lot of times people say that, it's usually the oppressed oppressor narrative. It didn't play a part in KKK against black people, but it did play a part with Nazi Germany against Jewish, because when they use anti-Semitism to lynch or to incite a genocide, then they were saying two things, right? They were saying Jews control all the money in the world, they're conspiring against us, they're the most powerful in the land, right? So we are a pure race, we need to eliminate them, right? At the same time, Hitler was also saying,
Hopeless after all.
yeah, so he was saying two things at once. And then he was also saying, no, but our race is more pure, it's eugenics, we're better. And so we need to have the control over our society and eliminate the Jews. So it is what I was trying to say is this idea of demonization. It doesn't always work from top to bottom. It works from bottom to up. It's all about narratives, right? And the part that I was comparing, and I think there are two ways. I think in KKK's part, the idea was to eliminate black people, right? Or to put them down. I think women cannot really go into the society by themselves. They need men. Like, how are you going to reproduce? How are you going to use us as cash cows, right? So I think the idea for women is to keep us under control, do some fear mongering, build pressure on the society to make one-sided laws that give them the domination, right? And I think they can only do that if they justify it with the same stereotypes that KKK used. Hey, these are demonic people. They need more policing. We are unsafe from them. So I think that's the comparison I was drawing. But I have this meme, and I feel like it is accurate. Often when people talk about grape, have you seen this meme? It goes something like this. These are the people who want justice for grape victim. And these are the people who want violence against all men. And I think this is maybe accurate for women like this, that I don't really think she cares about justice. I think she cares about hating men. I think she uses that as an agenda of her own. Now, the reason why I also showed you that whole historical reference with KKK is that in her full article, she's saying that the government has not accepted the Shakti criminal laws that MVA has proposed. What do you think is in the proposal of this? They have basically enhanced the punishment. So they enhanced the punishment of rape from life imprisonment to death penalty, right? Here it is, death penalty. So she wants to, now if you look at, for example, okay, so this is a Supreme Court precedent. It says prosecute Ricks, meaning the woman. Her testimony, I think this is a wrong article. I think it's a Hindu. Here it is. Right? Rape accused can be convicted solely on the testimony of the survivor. So they don't need any evidence. So these are all the elements I think are exactly similar. We don't need any evidence. Testimony is enough.
The thing is, I personally feel like when I see headlines like these, I personally feel like, I mean, I'm sure there will be someone who will educate me on this, someone who is well versed in law. I think observations like these or headlines like these, they make me think they're so irrational, because how can you charge someone, how can you convict someone based on testimony alone? Like, for someone to be convicted in a crime, you would need proof, right? You would need to prove the crime. But to, I mean, as a political measure, or like in an effort to placate a certain group, if you make laws which are so extremely biased, I feel it is extremely concerning. I mean, what we saw a little bit ago, you showed me the statement of that woman. Isn't this call to violence? Isn't that illegal to speak in this nation? I mean, we had a few people being hounded a few days ago, okay, for saying something. This, whatever this person is saying, don't you think it is way more concerning? But I can't really do anything against that. The things are the way they are, you know. But it's really, really sad that things are heading in that way, you know. Things are heading that way that
And media
now
is busy writing articles about menfluencers rather than this.
you see, placation has become more important than actually securing justice. What do you
Yeah.
think about the whole idea of giving death penalty to rapists over imprisonment? What do you think about it? Do you think they should get death penalty or
No, I
something?
don't think so. Like, how are you gonna have serial killers on death row and not end their lives? How are you gonna have murderers, who get life imprisonment? How is it that women chop penises, they only get 10 years, right? That is also, in my opinion, worse than rape. It's like a violent form of rape that women do. Then the
No,
laws
like,
are,
I'm talking about it, isolate that incident from everything else. Like, I know there are a lot of strange laws, I understand. But let's take this act, independent of everything else, independent of what else is happening, serial killer or whatever.
no, I think,
I
I just
we
think
will talk about that too. We'll talk about that too. But let's talk about standalone offense, just this one, just rape. What do you think that
I
they
feel
should
like
be
I
punished
feel like
by? Should be
comparing standards are important. So my problem is, and again, the reason why I compared it to racism and white supremacy is that they also build two-tier justice system. It's like Jim Crow laws. It's like one law for white people, one for black people. It was
okay.
segregation, like one pool and one washroom for black people, another one for white. In buses, one section for black people, one for white, because we're afraid of them committing crimes
Let's
against
take
us.
the assumption. Let's take the assumption. First degree murder is also
No,
punishable by
no,
death.
wait. Let me explain. Let me explain. So what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm trying
Would
to
be also.
say is, then they have India has the same two-tier justice. It's like they have rape laws for women, but they don't have it for men. So any punishments that you're introducing, right? You can say death penalty, you can say life imprisonment. It doesn't affect women. Women will be committing those crimes getting away. Now, if the
Yeah.
law was equal, they would be more wary of giving these suggestions. But what I'm saying is, right, the reason why I'm not isolating it is because I feel like standards should be equal. So if they want it, they should also take the same punishment. So the reason why I
Yes.
give an example of women chopping men's penises and then getting 10 years, I think it's a violent form of rape.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
should also get the same. I mean, they should
Yeah.
also get the same.
But
I get that too.
but this woman doesn't care because she's completely immune. She thinks she wants immunity for murder. She also wants immunity for rape. It's all a punishment is all for guys. Yeah. So Hyper is commenting. He's saying he wants us to read his comment. He said, "Why do people say women need to be protected first because they bear children?" Read Daily Mail's tweet where a man shouted at woman in London Metro. Read the comments. Yeah, I read your comment, Hyper. I think you're talking about the Metro case where he slapped her back. I don't know what else you're talking about. You're probably talking about that. But yeah, Goldclad, I'll let you continue. And I think this should be our last story, right? I think we've been live for a really long time. Or I think there's one we're leaving out where a guy is given imprisonment for maintenance. I think we'll skip it because it's been a while. But yeah, I think concluding remarks to you. I think, what do you think?
So, first to answer the commenter's question, Why are women helped first? Why are women given priority in crisis situations? Because they, with the reasoning that they bear children. Look, there is a biological reason as well, but that won't be that much suitable for this stream. There is also another reason that society, when crisis hits, okay, when crisis hits, all the equality narrative, all the leftist narrative, all the equal and everything else narratives, it goes out the window. Okay. Then we go back to the primitive jungle-like dynamic of men being the ones who face the heat. Okay, and then women and children, they go back and they somehow reach the reach safety. You will see all these memes of world, if World War III starts, God forbid, you see all these memes that feminists are back in the kitchen and all these memes. The thing is, it just happens. It's human nature. When crisis hits, all the rules that we are making, all everything else, it collapses. And when it comes like a question of life and death, people naturally, they come back to their roles. And then, especially in situations which are life-threatening, men usually are put forward, like you see in the war which is happening in Europe right now. In that war, if they made the opposite decision of like letting men go out of the country and letting women fight the war, I think the outcome would have been pretty interesting to say the least.
Yeah, yes. Also, to what the chatter said, I was reading this earlier. So I think there's a tendency for women to exploit children as human shields. I think just 1 or 2 months ago, how long ago is this? Oh, this is last year. So, okay. So yeah, so there were these articles being thrown that women are getting pregnant in prisons. Now you may be asking, how are they getting pregnant in prisons? So the article went on to explain, I don't know if this is the same one, but it was saying that either they were pregnant before they entered, but majority of them, they're being released on parole or they're being given bail, and once they get out, they use that as an advantage to get pregnant and then come back in. So when they deliver the baby, the courts would release them, because they're pregnant and have a baby, right? So using it to their advantage to basically escape punishment. So yeah, I mean, it's convenient. Yeah, I mean, happy Women's Day. I mean, what can you say, this is the world. So Goldclad, how tired are you after having streamed for 3 hours?
We can do 5 more, brother. I'm all up for it.
Chad, props to
It's fun to
Goldclad.
talk. It's fun to talk to you actually. So it's not that tiring, It's not boring. It's interesting. The points you bring up.
I'm
It's
curious,
interesting.
how are you holding the phone? You're holding it like this in your hand?
Yeah, I'm holding the phone like I always do. I make my videos the same way. I go live the same way, holding the phone.
Cool. Yeah, so I was actually pretty impressed with your fitness videos as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this, but props to you for sticking around for 3 hours.
Do you like have any fitness routine of your own, like, or do you practice any fitness regimen?
I do minimal. So I do like core workouts at home, and they're just things like ab crunches and stuff on the yoga mat. I don't really do like proper gym with weights and stuff.
That's not really that necessary unless you can actually find time and afford to do it. But
Find
for
time,
me, it's
and
nothing else.
I also feel like
It's enough.
there is a risk of developing a body dysmorphia where I'm not talking in women's context, let's just say you yourself raise a certain body standard. So there was a time I was not working out, and then I did the core workouts and I developed some abs, and now I feel guilty of losing that shape. Okay, so I have to hold that standard forever.
When it starts going away, you start feeling a little bit, oh no, I'm going back to life. The key to fighting all that is not take things seriously anyway. Not take things too seriously. Yeah, I'm working out, whatever comes, whatever goes. I don't care. Once you start depending on things, once you start getting too attached to things, attached to the size of your bicep, attached to the size of your chest, attached to the way you look. All these things, the more importance you give to all these things which are fluid, which are changing, ever changing, then of course one day they will change, not in your favor, and then you will be hit with subtle melancholy. The better is to just grace through life, work out, do your workout. Yeah, forget it after doing the workout, do some other stuff. Because a lot of men, the problem is they make gym their entire personality. They start going to the gym. Now gym is their entire personality. I'm a gym boy. My identity is gym boy, gym bro. They will constantly talk to you about the size of their deltoid, the size of their pectoralis minor and pectoralis major, and trapezius muscle. And the thing is, if you are only focusing on one aspect of your life and you're not monetizing it in some way, you're actually wasting your time. Yes, gym is very, very important. It's extremely important. I recommend this to everyone. Okay, work out. If you can't go to a gym, work out at home. Do something, right? But if you start depending on it too much, then it becomes a problem. So the key is not to take it too seriously. Yeah, do the workout, forget it. Go and do something else. Don't get attached to one single thing in your life. It happens a lot to a lot of people. And the key is like, stop taking things seriously. Just let it go.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I think my coping mechanism is just to keep it where it is, not go further up.
Stop it from happening in the first place. I get it.
Yeah. Cool. Goldclad, I want to thank you for being on the stream. Chat,
Thank
for
you.
everybody who's still here, who made it 3 hours in, please go subscribe to Goldclad's channel so we get to see him again. Goldclad, any final words? Chat, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them. We can address them. But Goldclad, anything you want to add?
It was really, really amazing talking to you. You're extremely well read, and you have very, very interesting perspectives about how things happen in the world. It's good to have two people come together in this space and have some conversation which is productive and engage some people. Whatever number of people we are engaging, it's better to have conversations like these and engage people and have them also hear it than waste your time on things which are zero ROI, basically. Okay, so all those people who are watching us, thank you guys for giving us your time. Thank you guys for staying here. I hope you guys get some value out of this stream. We put forth our points. He put forth his points. I put forth mine. I hope you guys get some value through which you improve something in your life. You get to see a ray of hope in life. I hope you guys can see the world a bit clearer now after the stream. Because for a man, what is more important is he needs clarity in his life. He feels the most tortured. He feels the saddest when he has no clarity, when he doesn't even know what's happening in the world. There's this meme, ye kya ho raha hai bhai? Ye kya ho raha hai? When you're at that stage in life, then that's when you are the saddest. You see, you start to ask people in your house, you start to ask your friends, and you don't get a satisfactory answer. So my expectation, my hope is that you guys got a few satisfactory answers to your questions from this stream. And if you did, then our stream is highly productive. It did what it was supposed to. We expect to see you guys again later. Thank you guys for staying with us. Thank you, brother, for inviting me here. It was amazing talking to you. We'll see you again. Okay.
Sounds good.
God
So
bless you.
for our exit, here's what you gotta do. So on the screen, there will be smoke cans thrown. And by the time smoke clears, you should not be on the screen. You know how to do that?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, ready? Here you go.
I hope